welcome to the Omniverse workshop. There's Sebastian. I hope you are all as excited as I am. It's kind of like when you get like one of those big shiny new toys and you just like super excited to play with it. That's like how the Omniverse has made me feel for the last like 6 months. So it's really cool. So I'm super excited to kind of like share the stuff we've been doing and the architecture perspective. I'm sure you've probably all seen if George, we'll do introduction in a second, but we have George on the line from NVIDIA, but I'm sure you've seen a lot of the sort of stuff that, they put out. It's all nicely packaged and beautifully, marketized. So today we actually get to like kick it around and play with it and break it. I guarantee you it's going to break a couple times because it's, early beta, but that's the fun. We're gonna really push it. We'll break it. We'll let you guys play with it. I'll kind of go through it. But before we get like deep into that, maybe some quick introductions. So, I'll start, and then maybe George can go next and his team. I see Jim's also on. Say hi, otherwise you can stay in the background. So I'm Robert Cervellione. I'll be kind of taking you through the workshop today. I am a studio leader and design technology manager for WoodsBagot, located in the New York City office. A lot of what I do revolves around like testing out this new technology, implementing out projects. I'm very much on the project side of things. I work with the real live messy projects. And so I get to take a bunch of the R&D and mess up everybody's lives on a day-to-day basis by pushing it onto real projects. So it's a fun and fantastic challenge. A little bit, because obviously stuff we push on live projects is a little bit different than pure R&D, because it has to work. All right, so that's me. Please feel free to ask any questions. I'll let George introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. So I'm George Matos. I don't know where my camera went. There we go. I'm a senior PM here at NVIDIA. So I spent about 20 years in the AEC industry before leaving to kind of chase what we're doing right now with Omniverse. So my focus is basically to look at kind of all products related to AEC and technology and how NVIDIA can help that. So that's kind of what my team does. So we span various things around AEC, but the primary focus right now that we've been on is Omniverse. And then Jim, I don't know if you want to speak, and then Jim, after you, maybe Eggy can talk.
Yeah, real brief. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, this is, my name is Jim Medeiros, and I work with George at NVIDIA, helping facilitate this opportunity. So thanks everyone for joining. Really appreciate it. I'm an account manager within NVIDIA based in Raleigh and working on many different things related to all this fun stuff. And Omniverse is just one of the awesome things. So have a good day today.
Cool. Hey, did you want to say hi?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Again, I recently joined George's team. I'm a recent graduate of architecture, and I also have a minor in computer science, working in the AEC industry, I guess. Super fun stuff. And I've been using Omniverse for the past month and a half, so I'm also like a recent user, but I also had worked in it last year when I was interning at NVIDIA as well.
Cool. So obviously we're just gonna go over a little bit of what the Omniverse is before we just kind of let it loose and let you play with it. So I promise there is very little slide deck in today's presentation.
This is not meant to be sales pitchy anything by any means. So it's meant for you guys to get your hands on and play with it.
Yep, which we will get to very, very quickly. So
while Robert's pulling that up, one thing I would love to say thanks to is Box Technology. So they are the ones that have allowed us to be able to do this virtually versus in person. So I want to give a shout out to the Box team for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as soon as we're done boring you with slides, I'm going to go over how you can access the Box workstations, but Box has put a lot of effort into getting you these. These are about as high end as you can possibly get. They have RTX 8000s in them. They have a ton of RAM, lots of processing power, fully dedicated. So, you know, hopefully your experience with, you know, with Omniverse and everything else is going to be fantastic and super highly optimized. And so, yeah, definitely a good shout out to Box.
All right, so we'll jump through this pretty quick. So Omniverse has been in development for a little while. We had some lessons learned from Holodeck, if anybody had used that, and we found some limitations in that. And from those limitations and finding, we basically, Omniverse was born, is the way to put that. Okay, go ahead and next slide there, Robert. And originally when we put this together for AEC, so Omniverse as a whole is a platform. It's as we go through this, you guys will understand that. But this is something I think I want to make clear is this isn't a piece of software you're going to take and install and just go from, you know, Revit to Omniverse. That's not the point of this. It's a platform that allows all applications to talk to one another. So there are a lot of bits and pieces that revolve around Omniverse. So when we started out for the AEC use case, we originally started at the very beginning from the kind of concept phase. And so that's why you see certain applications and maybe not others. As time goes on, more applications will come out. So I'm not going to read everything here, but the biggest thing here is leverages open standards. So part of that is USD, which the whole underlying thing to all of this is the adoption of USD. And then we also have open sourced MDL, which is how you do materials. And then our PhysX piece that allows you to do simulations. Okay, go ahead to the next one. Again, I'm not going to bore you guys too much. So connectors here, Revit, we're still working on. And again, this is we're going to announce public beta is coming soon. So Robert has been testing this with some other firms for a while now, and we're developing what we call connectors. So for instance, the Grasshopper piece literally just came out, what, Robert, like a week ago?
4 days, yeah, 3-4 days ago. Yeah.
Hot off the presses. So Grasshopper is the newbie to the group that you see here. Max is actually still in development, and I would say it's far along, but it's probably not as far as what SketchUp and Rhino and Revit are.
Yeah.
And then we have Nucleus, and Nucleus is really the hub of Omniverse. It's the thing that's actually communicating all the data between stuff. And Robert will kind of show that, and that's how you guys are going to work today. And then View is kind of our view into the simulated world. So we made this a little different. And if you read up on Omniverse, there was something called Kit, and Kit is more the developer type view. We built View specifically for designers and kind of architects, not technical people is the way I would put it. So there's widgets and things that you'll see to make your life a little easier, get to materials quicker, sun studies, things like that. Okay, go to the next one.
Yeah, and I will say that's just the AEC plugins. There's Maya, Unreal, and a bunch of other connectors that are already like sort of done.
Sorry, and there's more coming. So that is the key piece, right? Again, we're still evolving this, and as we evolve, there's going to be more connectors coming. So part of this was designed on RTX. So that is the thing. You have to have an RTX card, Turing or recently announced Amperes. So the RTX, the reason it has to be on there is our kind of what I call the view into the simulated world is using our ray tracing cores for the path tracing renderer and what we call kind of real time. And then it also uses our tensor cores to do various things, whether it's denoising, DLSS that's coming. Also, when you talk about simulation, right? So lighting analysis studies, other like fluid simulations, things like that you can write microservices for. That's going to use everything that's on the GPU. So the CUDA cores, the ray tracing, and the tensor cores. So again, easily collaborate amongst teams, use tools for analysis, robust, all kinds of fun stuff. And as you can see on the left, this was something we did actually last year that we showed off in at GTC China. So that is a rendering directly out of Omniverse. And that was a rendering done with 10-month-old technology. So that gives you guys an idea where things are. Okay, next one. And then here's just a quick supported, right? Again, Robert mentioned others, but you see, like, we're talking about these guys mainly because we feel these are further along, even though Grasshopper is new. Mac still has a ways to go. Maya, we're still finding things we need to do. Maya is probably further than Max because it's had more support for USD. But Revit, we're still doing things too and kind of learning as we, new users get access to it, or we get new data sets and we find issues. We're constantly updating this. Rhino, we're working on, and we work with the McNeil team when we kind of get stuck. Grasshopper, again, new, so you'll see, like, next week, I think we're going to issue a new Rhino Grasshopper plugin because we fixed some things. And then SketchUp, we support the 2 versions. The general rule is that we'll always support 3 versions, similar to like Autodesk or any other company. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I'm not going to literally run all this, but here's a couple screen captures and you guys will get into this. But this is kind of a quick view of View. So we have 2 modes. We have review mode, which is kind of the top, which is meant to be, hey, I'm going to show this to a client or a customer, and I want to kind of get full screen in a sense, right? So this takes away kind of all the UI and you can just go through and do stuff. And then the bottom mode is the edit mode, what you're kind of used to. So this is where you can do your different modes. We have something called white mode, right? Just like doing an architectural model. So if you want to look at things early on and not look at materials, you can go between kind of the photo accurate and then the white mode, if you will. And then you have material browser, all this other fun stuff Robert will get into. But quick snapshot, basically. All right, next slide. Okay, so kinds of data that's leveraged, right? And this is going to be a little different based on the plugin because of where the plugin is and on the status line of being built, right? So this is kind of what's being taken right now. So there's common materials, that come through. The key piece is that if it's coming from, for instance, Revit, we try to map one-to-one. Where issues come in is if you have custom materials created, and Robert will get into this, you have to do kind of a CSV tool where you have to map the material to our MDL, right? Because everything has to be a kind of an MDL material in order for it to work in our renderer. So if it's a standard Autodesk material, it'll translate automatically as it comes through. 3D views come through, lighting will come through, IES profiles come through. I will say, I think we're still working on the IES. I think there's a little bit of things going on with IES that's not lining up 100%. So we're still tweaking that. And then vegetation comes through fairly quickly. And Robert's gonna be able to show that, but I think the vegetation looks pretty awesome considering they were all hand built on our side. Okay, next slide. I don't think we have too much left. And then, so there's 2 ways to work, and I think Robert will go through this here. We haven't, two ways. So one is what we call send to view. And the idea behind this is in whatever program you're in. So for this instance, it's saying Revit, there's an option when you have the Omniverse kind of bar and it'll say send to view. And so what that does is it basically will take the file, convert it to USD, and then it'll pop open a view and you will see your file in there. The other way is something we call publish, which most people are used to, right? It's, in a sense, it's a save as or an export. And that's giving you the option to say, okay, where do I want to put it? And what options do I want, right? So in Revit, there's a couple different options that you can select when you say publish. And then it just writes the file out to USD, and then you can go open it on your own. So in that case, you can actually have people running Revit or Rhino that maybe don't have an RTX GPU, but are contributing to the project. They can write out USD. They just can't view the simulated world. So that's a key thing to remember there. So they can still collaborate. They just can't view it. Okay, next slide. I think we're almost done here. This is just showing white mode, or this is showing Revit, and here's kind of the toolbars that you see right here. So send to view, publish, and then there's this option called live sync. which you guys will get into today. And that's the whole big thing behind Omniverse with the component called Nucleus, is as you're changing things in the various applications, only the differential is sent. And if you have a view of the simulated world open, as other people are working and contributing live, you will see those updates. And so that'll happen today as you guys go through this. Okay, I think we're almost done. Maybe 2 more slides. Oh, he did a movie. Go ahead and skip.
I'll just.
Yeah, okay. And then here's the 4 modes, if you will. So we have something called draft mode, preview mode. Now, those 2 are really important because it's not taxing on the GPU and you can navigate very quickly through a scene, right? So this is just a small scene, but if you had a large, city block or city, you'd use those 2 to kind of navigate the scene. And it'll automatically do that. And if you stop and you triggered what's called photo mode down there, that's the path tracing mode. So that's actually taxing the GPU, and that's going to give you everything. And if you have multiple GPUs, or in this case, what Robert's going to use today is an 8 GPU box. So all 8 GPUs are rendering simultaneously. We scaled it up to about 20 GPUs being used simultaneously, which is kind of crazy, and Robert can speak to that. And then we have this white mode option here as well. Okay, and then lastly, it's just a snapshot view here. So, publish from kind of any application to the project, publish different designs to the project. That's the whole point. You name it how you want. Subsequent publishes will always override the previous data and things like that. And then this is something else we showed last year. So this is actually from KPF. And that image down there, the reason it's so wide, to give you an idea, that was the first time we actually used 8 GPUs on rendering, and we were flipping through these as like camera points of view, right? So as if you were doing a slideshow, but we were doing it live, and there were only a couple pieces that you could see that the rendering was actually rendering. So as we switched from cameras, it was running in real time on those 8 GPUs, and 2 of the 8 images, those were the only 2 you could tell that it was actually rendering, because there was some pixelation happening where there was like some metal that was a close-up shot. Otherwise, people thought these were still images from a PowerPoint. So that gives you an idea of the kind of horsepower. And that's it.
Cool. All right. So I have a small slide deck that I'm going through, but there's a couple key points here. Coming from the architecture side, that I want to very much underscore. One, I'm going to talk a little bit about USD because I think it's not the most known format in the AEC world. But one of the things that's really important here is not just the fact that you can view the simulated world, but that it's aggregating all of your data from all of the software that we use. In fact, today I'm going to show you a demo that has 4 Revit models, 2 Rhino models, some stuff from Maya and some stuff from Unreal. And it's not an export in the sense of export. It's not, it's live. It's a whole city that's live. So if somebody's updating one part of their Revit model, the entire design composition is updating in real time. And we're going to kind of get through that into that, and it's pretty mind blowing. So and slides don't do it justice, and today is not about slides. So okay, what I want to show is what I want to just talk about quickly before I jump into the actual demo is I assume you can see the big blue WoodsBagot thing.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. You already know about me. So I'm just going to make this caveat. Omniverse is in beta, early beta. So we probably are going to break things today. So just be aware of that and be excited about that, because the more we break, the better it gets. Okay. What is USD? So USD is something I've been tracking for a long time. I've been waiting forever for it to hit the architecture industry. So USD was designed, originally it started back in like 2004, I think, inside of Pixar. So Pixar Animation Studios basically said, our designers use 30 pieces of software. We have hundreds of gigabytes of data, sometimes terabytes of data to shuffle. We have, you know, people on location. We have, you know, people doing shots in one place. So it sounds like a familiar problem, right? A whole bunch of people doing a whole lot of work on different parts of a single project, right? So they said, we're just going to make a file. I don't want to use the word file. We're going to make a system that's able to aggregate and coordinate all of this information. It's kind of like the concept of what IFC is in architecture, except this one isn't awful. I think IFC is awful. You might disagree with me. So basically, it's the same kind of thing. It's a 100% open, standard way of interoping data. So this is Pixar's definition, except I kind of amended it to make it more AEC friendly. So basically, you know, pipelines capable of producing computer graphics that generate, store, and transmit great quantities of data. It's something we need to do, right? Each of many cooperating applications in a pipeline. So they call it model shading, animating, light, FX. We call it architecture, mechanical, plumbing, civil, lighting, right? Those are our trades. And then being able to coordinate all of that data. So that's what USD's underpinning was. And it's pretty amazing, by the way. Why USD? Okay. It's a rich, common data language. It's kind of like a file format. It technically is a file, but it's a lot more than just a file because of the way the system works. I'm not going to kind of go through all of this text, you know, but the whole idea was it doesn't matter what program you design in. It doesn't matter where you're located. We can use this to store all of it all at once. I don't know why I won't go to the next slide. Hello. There we go. Oh, did it jump? Now it jumped. Okay. So here's the cool thing about USD. One, again, it's 100% open standard. So if you use the non-binary version of it, it's going to be in plain text. Many things can read and write it, and the way it stores data is incredibly flexible. I mean, I'm not going to get into like deepness of this, but one of the most amazing things is these things called, you know, layers or property overrides. So for instance, you know, if I don't know if in your practice you've ever had like an architecture model and you have a bunch of standards, you call things the things you like to call things, but then another firm has their own standards and they call things that the way they like to call things. USD actually allows the immediate mapping of all of those kinds of schema translations. So if, you know, I call it an apartment and I'm working with somebody in London and they want to just label it a flat, that's a weird example, but we don't have to choose what we're going to call it. In my model, it can say apartment. In their model, it can say flat, and it knows how to map the schemas across. So it's a really cool thing. The other thing is it's very simple, and the entire system, well, it's C++ in the back end, but it's 100% fully supported by Python. The majority of what happens inside of USD is Python. What you'll actually see is Vue is a Python, the Vue for Omniverse is really just a bunch of Python libraries that make beautiful UIs. You can actually extend and make your own little widgets and things. We're going to look at some code today too. So, you know, describing the data also is super important. Like what, so you could just call it like class, planet, you know, and then put some properties on it, has life. And then Xform is like an object, a solar system. And then you define a planet called Earth, you know, and a planet called Mars. And then you give it extra properties, you know, has life, true, color, blue. And so how data sits in there isn't decided by somebody else. You get to decide how your data is structured, for the most part, you know, in terms of that. Okay, so that's it for the slide decks. but what I want to really talk, say is that what we're going to show today in Omniverse, is about pushing data into the Omniverse. One of the things I'm super excited that we're going to explore and that's going to come out of this is the ability to pull data from that. So not only will, once it's in this USD system and it's sitting in Nucleus on an Omniverse server and you have access to that, being able to push additional data from Revit into an object, grab that data in Rhino, do something with it, adjust it, and push it back. That is the USD's bread and butter. And it can do that all day. It can do that fast, and it can do that efficiently. Right now, and again, it's fully open. So like, you don't have to even wait for NVIDIA to build those kind of connections. You can just open up Python and start building those connections from day one, if you want. So like a quick proof of concept was, dumping all of the BIM data from Revit onto a bunch of objects just using a super simple Python script. And then you can read that later in another program if you like. So that's where it's kind of going, or at least in my head, where where the architecture industry can really jump on it. And one thing I know, especially from some of the people on this call, is that we're good at opening out Python and starting to, do those kinds of things. So cool. All right, any questions on that? I can, no, okay. Yeah, maybe, all right, cool. So what you guys need to do is, hopefully you're all logged into the Slack channel. Sorry, there's multiple Slack channels. Hopefully you're all logged into the Slack channel. What I did was I posted a link to a Google Drive. If you click that Google Drive link, you will see this. So I'm just going to ask everybody to do that. And one of the files in there is called remote computers. So if your name is not on that list, please let me know. But what I've done is assigned a remote computer to you. And I'm going to show you how remote computers work. So please stop me if you need me to slow down. Make sure that you have this thing opened for sure. So is everybody with me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna log out of my remote workstation quickly.
Oh, hey, Robert, you got somebody asking if you can register in the chat.
If I register, I don't even see the chat. Hold on, let me go.
That's the bottom.
Yeah, but I have my screen sharing on, so I have this minimalistic mode. Yeah, the chat bar is completely missing for me. Hold on, sorry. The chat bar is definitely missing for me.
If you're sharing your screen, you may have to go to the little drop down
Oh,
at the top.
I see. Yep. Yeah, is the chat in here? No. Yeah, see, I was looking for a chat control up there, but oh, I think I found it. It's under more for some reason. There we go. Can you register me? I don't know what that means.
He doesn't have a machine ID.
Oh, I see. Yes. You will get 11. I see. Okay, cool. And now I found the chat bar, and now that's up. Okay, so I'm gonna log out of my virtual computer. So basically, the only thing you needed to install was that, and hopefully you guys did it the other day. I had put a link for it. But when you do, just search for PCOIP, and I'll just open up a little client, Teradici PCOIP. You probably don't have any connections, but you probably do have the button that says new connection. So what you're going to do is you're just going to click new connection, and I'll connect to another one. It's going to ask for the host address. That's this number right up here. So the 72.80.48.16.94. And then it's going to ask for a connection name. Just name it this. So I'll log into 16. So NVST, and then I'm going to log into 16, and I'll make that. And then you just click next, and you can connect in securely. So far, I haven't got any hackers. It's fine. So username is the computer. So NVST16. Everybody's password is exactly the same. It's at the top of the thing right here. It's just AEC Tech 2020. And when you log in, that's it. It will let you into your remote computer, and you will be logging, and you will now be on Box's really cool remote workstation. These are not shared. These are dedicated computers for each of you. So this is not like a shared scenario. It's a physical box for each of you. That's cool. Oh, there it goes. And you'll see I gave you the basics: Rhino, Revit, Maya, and Unreal. That's my life all day. So that is the basic suite. And that's how you log in. Once you've made that connection initially and you close it, let's say I close it, it's going to just take you back here, and it'll actually just remember all of your connection, your connection. So you can just click that again and log in. So I'm going to log into my main box, which is this one. I feel like I can never go back to a computer with one GPU in it anymore after having a couple days on one with 8 of them inside of it. It's let's just say a different one. But amazingly, what I'm going to even show you and play with works just fine on one GPU. In fact, you'll see it works more than just fine on one GPU. I have to get my password. Mine's a little different. I have 2 large monitors, but I feel like I need like 2 more for this. All right, let me know if anybody's had an issue connecting into their remote computer. No? This is amazing. It's obviously gone way smoother than I even had thought. It's amazing.
Robert,
and,
can you just, sorry, I couldn't get just got that Teradici thing open. The host name and the connection name?
The host name, the first thing?
Yeah.
Or the second one, after you've done the IP or before the IP?
The first thing that pops up, this says host address or code. And then
so the host address is the IP address here. And the connection name is the computer you were assigned.
Thanks.
So you're NVST8. And then the next screen is your username and password. Your username is also the computer name here, NVST8. And then your password for everybody is AEC Tech 2020.
Also, one thing to point out with this guy, you guys may have a different experience and seem super smooth. This is literally because of the Teradici, because the PCOIP client. It does something. The way it sends pixels is different than other thing like, you know, RDP and Horizon Client and stuff like that. It has something called Ultra GPU, which streams stuff really good. So this is what we use internally.
Yes, it's a very nice experience. If you guys have been RDP using like Microsoft, like awful approach to remote computing, and you haven't had the beautifulness of the TerraDC PCOIP client, it's a much different experience because it properly actually uses your GPUs, and it even lets you, you know, actually, you know, it's just far better. So, Sebastian, we got to talk to Shane for a game here. Get some new stuff. So my stuff is opening right now too. I'm going to go over stuff in a second. I'm just waiting for something to open. It's just going to take a second while everybody gets familiar. There, you know, so what you'll see, there's an icon on the desktop, I believe, that says View. Right, everybody got an icon that says View? If not, I'm going to go over it in a second. I just want to show you something, and then I'm going to kind of back it out a second. Sorry, I should have probably had this open beforehand. The other thing that's really cool, so right now I'm opening a scene that I'm going to show you that's like a big full scene. It's a very large scene, but so one of the cool things is it feels like it might take a minute. It takes about 2 minutes for the scene to open. But once it's opened, correct me if I'm wrong, George, all of it's living on your GPU. So at that point, you're not like pounding your hard drive and stuff like that. Everything is like sitting beautifully and nicely on your GPU. So
for what? So when you're in view or what? Sorry,
yeah, once you're in view, right? You know, so like all the geometry is like loaded up in the RAM inside of your GPU. So
it is. So the only thing that still hits is as you're sending differential, right, from an application.
Oh,
so
right.
Something's coming from Rhino or something as you are in there. That's going to still use a little bit of system RAM, and then that's going to use the hard drive, obviously, right? But it once it's loaded, the initial load is what takes a little bit because of having to read the geometry, read the materials. But once it's in there, and then if you send anything and you're using live sync, as Robert will go through, it's instantaneous basically, depending on what it is. But yeah, everything has to be loaded, and that is a key. If it's too large of a scene, it may or may not fit in the GPU, right? So we're using the highest end of our RTX card with 48 gigs of memory. If you had a smaller card in a very large scene, you could potentially run into issues because it's not fitting in the memory of the GPU.
Although I will say I have a 24 gig card, and I feel like there's a little bit of a different, you know, like even a large set of architectural models or maybe, you know, 20, you know, 15 gigs worth of data. So you're pretty safe.
You are. I mean, usually it's, I mean, you're talking highly detailed or you're talking like city blocks, right? Multiple city blocks with highly detailed stuff. That's where stuff can come into play.
Exactly. Okay. So I want to show you a scene that I've given you guys that I sort of have been playing with. That's just, you know, pretty fantastic. Hold on, it's gotta resize my screen. Okay. So this is view. What you're looking at is, it looks like a game. It's kind of like an open world environment. What you're looking at is 4 Revit models, 1 Rhino model, a UE4 model, and a Maya. So Maya, Revit, Grasshopper, Rhino, all living in the same world. And this is not an export in the sense of an export. So if I open up the source file that you might actually recognize some of this stuff. So I kind of was just playing with some of the default, you know, everybody all knows the like default house in in Revit. So I'm just, where, ooh, I lost one of my UIs at the top. I lost my preview and super. My ribbon. Oh wait, no, it's hidden, sorry. There we go. I'm gonna put it in photo mode because again, so this is probably about 20 something million pieces of geometry living in real time. And again, it's not an export. If I open up the Revit file, which we're gonna play with later, and I move that sync over, it just moves over. So somebody can be designing this nice little waterfront villa and this will update. Somebody can be doing, and by the way, these are instance blocks, which are great. So I don't need 2 Revit files. So this whole open world thing becomes like this whole idea that I love about digital twins becomes real because I can go through a real life rhino and grasshopper model and make tweaks on the fly and have my world where I need to see all of this data all in real time, all together. So I can have view opened on one monitor and Rhino opened on the other, and I can just play with the grasshopper parameter and watch that update. The update, which I'll show you, takes about 10 seconds, and the entire thing is updated. And so this is the difference between like using Enscape or something like that, right? Enscape is locked into the software that you're using it on. So you can't view 3 Rhino models, 2 Revit models, and collaborate on this. And this is living on a server. So, when somebody pushes it from across the world, it just updates. There is a fun bug we found, not too long ago. See how my glass is black here? There's this weird little bug that, that appears where the MDL didn't get compiled correctly. And so if I select the window and then select the geometry, it will update properly. But let me also show you the structure of the USD stacks, okay? So each file, come on. I just want to move this up there, thank you. Okay, so you have the world, and so this is a Revit file, this is my Rhino file, this is another Revit file, and this is an instance of one of my Revit files. So that it's one Revit file, but it's updating 2 instances within my scene. And then on top of that, I have my landscape data, which most of the assets came from UE4, but I brought it into Maya to just do some updates and some tweaks and some extra texture mapping on the grass and stuff like that. So you can just layer and stack as many files as you want from any program you want it to be in. So I can have another 7 Rhino files in here, it doesn't matter. And it just kind of works. And then inside of that, you'll see camera geometries and looks. Looks is just its term for materials and things like that. And if you open up geometry, it's gonna mirror your layer structure in Rhino. So that's just my layer structure in Rhino. And then under that is all the objects that make up that. And then in Revit, you're gonna get, right now, I mean, I'm talking to them about like, how to organize this, but right now it's basically the family name and then the object ID for all of the objects inside of your Revit file. Right now it's a flat list. I would love, if that lived under another node that said curtain walls and things like that, that I can drop down. But all your geometry is just kind of pretty neatly organized, so you can find it pretty fast. It's got a really nice search bar. So if you were looking for something specific, like you just want to see casework, you can just type that in. Now I'm in a huge file, so, you know, obviously we can get some performance gains happening, you know, that typically is very, very fast, but this is a huge, huge file. In fact, I might have just crashed Vue. The other thing I did notice is I'm working on what's called the multi-GPU version of Vue. You guys are going to be working the single GPU version of Vue. I found that the multi-GPU version of Vue crashes on me a little bit more often than the single GPU, so you're going to actually have a much more stable experience than I have. Anyway, but you just type in casework and you can see it kind of work.
If it's becoming a pain too, you can just do the single, even on the 8 GPU. Just launch the normal.
Yeah. It becomes a problem, but I'll just say that, you know, like I did see it crash once or twice when it didn't in the real world. So the other thing to notice is I'm going to kind of, you know, really kind of flex the 8 GPU. See how when I'm panning around, it goes into a preview mode. You can see them up here. And then when I let go, it goes back into regular mode. That's on, you know, done on purpose so that you can move around faster, and you can move around faster and do things like that. But I did test this earlier and it all worked fine. One of the things I can do up here is I'm going to uncheck fast navigation. And the cool thing about that is it is just going to always keep me in path trace mode, because this thing is, or at least it should have. Is it on? Oh no, it's still on. Thank you. So now it's just going to keep me in path trace mode, which is fine because I don't need this thing to keep linking back and forth. I do need to fix my material problem though. I'm sorry. So basically all I have to do is go find the looks under the tower. So these are all my materials. Is that? Oh no, sorry. That's the villa. This is the tower. You can see coming from like a media and entertainment world, some of the stuff inside of USD is named as such. There, glass. I think it's this one. It's one of these shaders. I don't remember which shader it was. And the selection is not letting me select the geometry in the screen, which is a slightly new problem, but nonetheless.
Try toggling out of photo mode. Go to like preview your draft and see if it.
Oh yeah, that might work. No, it just won't let me select today. Although it worked every other time, so it's one of those fun little demo things. Sorry, yeah, I just got to get the right shader. So one of the other things is I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to show you in a little bit. Sorry, I just really need that class to. No, it's definitely not in here. It's one of these. I think it's like 46 or something like that. Maybe it's 48. I'm super. All right, I'll find the thing later. But anyway, it's a weird little bug that's known. I wonder if it's because I was on group select. Maybe not. Oh, I didn't lock it. Is it locked? No, it's not locked. Doesn't matter. I can just grab the geometry. Any of the curtain panels. Okay. Sorry, I should have just done that in the first place. Any of the curtain panels will have the properties I need on them. Yeah, for some reason, this I've locked this particular thing, and it won't let me select an object on it. So that's cool. Not really cool, but it won't let me select the object. Fine. Okay. Anyway, so let me go over a little bit about the interface, which is rather neat. So at the top, you got your standard like open, save, whatever, move, rotate, scale. So the other cool thing about Omniverse is each of these projects have their own coordinate in Revit and in Rhino, right? Obviously my Revit and Rhino stuff here match, together, but this is not where it lives in space. So each one of these objects can get moved in the Omniverse into their position that they need to be in, and you can still work in the Revit file, and it just automatically remembers the translation. It's kind of how Maya and some of the other programs have always worked, which is these hierarchical translation systems. So if I move this entire thing in Omniverse, it doesn't mean I had to move it in Revit or in Rhino, which is really nice because it allows me to kind of compose this scene while still keeping my project's local coordinates intact, which is really nice, and sort of duplicate stuff. So that's one of the nice things about that. So you have your material. So there's a whole bunch of default material, by the way, and all the material in the Omniverse uses MDL, which is based on the industry standard meaning like things like all the real-time rendering engines use. So Unreal uses this. Unreal's competitor there. I don't use it too much.
Unity?
Unity, sorry, yes, Unity. Unreal, Unity, I mean, most of the sort of, those kinds of engines, they use what's called PBR materials. And so, if you have a Quixel library, thing where there's like 10,000 amazing things, all of that is PBR, and so you can make them, but it obviously comes with a really nice set of materials. Additionally, the materials here are also hierarchical, okay, which means that in Revit, there's, all my selection is disabled, by the way, so like I have no idea what's going on. I've never seen that before. So in Revit, there's a material attached to this roof. And in here, I can override that. And so even though I update the object, it will keep the override in Omniverse. So I can override a material in here and it'll remember that override without me having to like mess with anything in Rhino or Revit or whatever. Yeah, this is very weird. I might restart this so that I can do material selection. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do a simpler scene and you all are gonna follow along. So I'm gonna close this for a second. I'm gonna say don't save. All right, I'll go through this with all of you actually. So do me a favor and open up Revit. Let's start with Revit just because, I don't know. I wanna make your lives.
Robert, I have some questions.
Sure.
I'm probably missed the point that you mentioned a few times that you move something on the Revit and it's automatically affect on the Omniverse. So can you make a clarification about the updates?
We're going to do that right now. That's exactly what we're going to do right now.
So you have the direct link.
Yeah.
Two ways.
So all of these are, oh, no. If you move it in the Omniverse, right now it will not move the Revit object.
Okay, that's my first question. The other one, is there any way to share lightweight version of Omniverse with clients or anyone? Yeah, so in the, I don't know how much I can say. There's a web viewer coming online that is based on WebXR, correct? Something like that.
Say it one more time.
The question was about lightweight viewers, so like WebXR, iPad kind of thing.
Yeah, so what we have now, there's a way to do kind of what we call remote streaming, where you're not having to use a client like PCOIP or RDP, where you're having the full screen and you have full access to like the OS, if you will. We can do it where, as long as you're on another Windows client, you copy something, type an IP address, and then you see the view interface and the view interface only. The eventual goal that we're working towards is to be able to send a URL from within View, if this makes sense. And then that URL opens in any browser. So on any device, it could be a phone, it could be a tablet, it could be Mac OS, doesn't matter. And then the pixels stream directly to you. So this could be a way to basically work with a consultant or a customer, and you can actually walk them through things and they can be part of it. And all they need is a browser, and that's it. That's not there yet.
But
exciting.
But if you were doing a client presentation and you just wanted to use the power of your computer and just let them like use it, play with it, they could with the IP address thing. Especially if you have a virtual computer like this, then you can just access it and let them just access the view portion of it, so they can't like mess with materials or anything like that. One thing I just realized is we don't have any of the default like Revit content, right? It doesn't come by default. Do me a favor. So in that link I gave you, download the data set. So I gave you a link and to these files, right? So in working files, Revit, there's, wow, hold on. It looks like you don't have the Revit file. Let me give you the Revit file. I am so sorry about that. No, it's in my Dropbox. It's in AEC Tech. And it is working files, and it is Revit. I am sorry that you do not have the working files. There we go. I'm going to drop this into, it should take a second, but please download this Revit file. This is what we're going to be opening right now, Water View Res Complex.
Robert, the Revit is asking for a license.
Yeah, just click,
personal login?
No, just click next for trial. It's just a trial version of Revit.
Okay, thanks.
Actually,
right.
I don't have that option. It just says, let's get started, and it's either sign in with the Autodesk.
Oh, right. I'm sorry, because this is Revit 2021, so you do have to sign in, even though it's a trial license. It still will use the trial license, but you do have to be signed in Revit 2021. It is a horrible mistake by Autodesk, but I'm sorry, but yes, Revit 2021 does require you to sign in. I assume you all have like Autodesk IDs, hopefully. If you don't, let me know, but I assume you can just sign in. It's not gonna like really take any of your company data or anything like that. I can't see your screen. Obviously you can sign out afterwards, and these machines are gonna actually just get turned off when it's all over anyway. So anyway, so I'm gonna just go to working files, Revit, and I'm gonna open up the Water View Complex. Cool. I love this. I did something to cause that little nice little checkbox to come. Okay. What you're going to see is this cute little weird version of the sample house. I basically turned it into like a mirrored, like little condo-y thing on the water. Let me know when everybody has that up on their screen.
So, from the TerraDT, how would I, because I can't even open the browser. I tried to open Edge and it won't let me. It just says, please sign in using your browser. How would I get to that Google Drive folder from?
So yeah, if you open up Edge, it should just open up a web page for you.
Mine says, please sign in using your browser, and it gives me Omniverse sign in with the username and the password.
Oh, you're opening Omniverse. Are you opening Omniverse?
No.
He may have opened Revit, and it may have triggered because of the plugin trying to connect to Nucleus.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
So just sign into your Google, like our Google Drive folder.
Well, if you just click the link from the Slack. By the way, so on your regular computer, if you right click and copy something and put it in the
okay.
copy, you can literally go to the remote computer and press paste.
Got it.
And then just grab it from the Slack and then just paste that into the bar, and it'll take you right there. There's no usernames or it's just open in public.
Got it.
Thank you. Yep. That's another kind of nice thing about the TerraDT that doesn't always work with the thing is, yeah, so whatever, you can just copy from your local computer and then paste into your remote computer, and then you should be able to get here, and then you can just right click and download all the data. Well, you don't have to download it all right now, just download that Revit file. What's weird is I'm not signed into my Revit. It's not asking me, it didn't ask me to sign in. So it's weird that it's asking you to sign in. Okay. Let me know when we all have this beautiful Revit model opened.
Hey, Robert, so Veronica's got an issue with Revit too.
I'm looking.
Just check the chat. It's.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, if you guys have an issue, please just unmute yourself. I'm happy to check the chat, but it won't allow me a trial license. There's no next option. Is that what Charlie said? Okay, so can one of you share your screen? Charlie, actually, you should be able to share your screen. I assume because you have presenter options. Can you show me what you see?
So I was finally able to get Revit open by logging in with my work email. It did ask me also for that Omniverse login thing.
Okay. I'm going to show you. Just keep this page open. Don't worry about this page. I'm going to go over this page.
And then I was able to get to the drive where you have the Revit folder. And when I try to download, it does like the typical, scan for viruses thing, and then it doesn't download.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with the download too.
Oh,
I'm having that same issue too.
It's zipping.
It says it's preparing. If you just download one file, though, it shouldn't want to zip it. So if you just right click and choose download.
Yeah, right click doesn't.
Yeah.
And then download.
It doesn't download. You'll see the little thing pop up over here.
Mm-hmm.
That's super weird.
Yeah, and then I go to the downloads folder just to confirm.
Yeah, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Refresh the screen. I wonder if it just didn't upload fully. So refresh the browser screen. So it might have taken the browser screen. Edge. Just open up Edge.
Oh, Edge.
And press F5 or refresh. I'm wondering if it just didn't you had the screen open when it was trying to. Is it downloading?
Nope.
No, it's the same thing.
Okay. That's super weird.
I did it on my local machine and it's fine. So...
Is there a folder that they can all see? No, there's not, right? There's not a folder they can all see.
We could share. Yours is shared out, but I think we'd have to do it a different way than the way I shared yours before.
All right, so I have it. I have mine in Dropbox. I just thought like Google Drive would be easier. Let me see if I give you a Dropbox link, and Dropbox works better.
It's weird why it's not allowing it to go through.
Yeah, I had no problem with it either.
I'm able to do it locally, but not on the
remote
VM.
machines.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to email Matt, Robert, and see.
Okay, but in the meantime, I'm just going to open up. Sorry about this. I'm going to share this via Dropbox. Yeah, because I had no issue with it either.
I just installed Chrome, and it's downloading in Chrome.
Oh, so let's try that. That's a good idea because Microsoft sucks. Yeah, you guys have full admin rights to the computers. So yeah, feel free to I bet you this is like a 2-second install too.
Yeah, super quick.
So
yeah.
Hey Robert, my issue, can you hear me?
Yes.
My issue is that at KPF, we push SSO, single sign-in, and I think because it can't redirect us to Microsoft to log in, I'm having an issue. So I just use my personal account. So I don't know if anyone else has SSO activated, but you won't be able to get the trial version. You have to use your personal email. So
okay,
Snow Area, you might need to create a personal account, by the way.
Which again is super weird because like I'm not signed in and it didn't care that I wasn't signed in.
Yeah, it didn't let me get past the get started screen without logging in.
That's so weird. Yeah, that's just really weird.
I'm in now, but it's just anyone else who has SSO, it won't actually let you log in.
Cool. And then obviously just put Chrome on your computer and you should be able to download the links then. Yeah, it installed in like 10 seconds. So let me know Charlie, if the Chrome thing fixed it.
I'll download and give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chrome thing worked.
Okay, cool.
Chrome thing works for me too.
Excellent. So how many of you are still waiting to open this file? Charlie, I know is one. Who else doesn't have this file open?
I don't.
Okay, I assume you're working on it?
Yep, downloading Chrome.
Okay.
Yeah, it's opening.
Hiccups. Apologize. On the bright side, the computers will all have Chrome for session 2, but I'm sorry that, I'm going to share my screen again. Yeah, so I'll just kind of wait. Obviously I want you guys to follow along. That's the whole point of this. So I'll make sure that you guys can all definitely wait and get it open.
Robert, while we're waiting, I have a question about the geometry stack and the Omniverse viewer.
Yep.
So you mentioned something about the layers or the way the naming convention happens. Like in the Revit, it's naming the Revit family category and then its element ID. With other software like Rhino, Maya, or 2D Max, is that something that the user has control over of how the naming convention happens, or is it something controlled by Omniverse?
So right now the plugin is controlling the naming stack. So in Revit, it's family name, category, object ID. In Rhino, it's just taking your layer structure. So however you've structured your layers, that's how it's going to show up. And I think in, I don't know, I don't use SketchUp. I don't recommend anybody use SketchUp, but so I haven't actually seen what SketchUp does for a layer stack.
I think it's layers as well.
Okay. And then Max is going to just Max, Maya, UE4. It just, however your objects are organized in those programs, because those programs give you a little bit more control of how things are organized, it just mirrors that. So like in Maya, if you like group things and, you know, however you've organized your data, at least for sure in the Maya version and the UE4 version, which is the ones I use a lot, it's however you organize it, and however you name object is how it gets named. You know, unfortunately, it's one of the things that things like Maya and UE4 come from a much better history of object control. So like the ability to name objects and stack objects and, you know, control hierarchies of objects are significantly better than in things like Rhino. So Rhino, basically, you make layers and it makes layers. I am not sure about sublayers. I don't think it's sublayers. I think it's just a flat list of layers. So, yeah, however you organize your layers is how you
Got it. Thanks.
Yep. All right. So are we all here? Let me know if you're not. Who is still not? All right, cool. We're all here. Awesome. So in Revit, once this is open, you should see a tab called Omniverse. And the first thing I want you guys to do is actually create an account. So I'm going to click sign in. And it's going to say localhost. Oh, wait. Yeah. So if you don't have an account, actually, what's the fastest way to pull up that account dialog? It's just open up view, right?
For what, to log in?
Yeah, to get a new login.
Do the browser and then just do localhost 8080.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So if you don't
I was able to log in with the computer name.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Is it? Okay.
But I just want to show you, if you don't, so obviously this is all user-based driven. So the server that sits on your computer can be accessed through localhost. If you just type in localhost 8080 in your browser, you're actually going to see basically what's called the Omniverse server. So this is where your data is going to be stored. It's where you can set permissions and user groups, and you can have, you know, different rights to different pieces of data. It's where your projects will live. It is where your library of like fun stuff that NVIDIA has made for you lives. You know, so you have AEC and you have samples and you have, you know, in your library, you'll see like assets and materials. All of that you can access through here basically. And then you can see user manager and users. I've created a user for everybody. This is how you would recommend creating a user. Just click this. I haven't used this dialog in a little while, but
yeah, you can do it that way.
Yeah. But if you don't have a user, you can just click create user, and it'll just ask for your first name, last name, email. But you should all just be able to log in with your computer name, I believe. So like this one's NVST1, but I definitely want to sign out. Weird, where did it go? Because I want to sign in as a new user, but it won't let me.
You have to go.
I'm sorry, disconnect. Sorry. There, localhost. No, it just automatically decided to keep me in as NVST1.
So you want to log out of theirs?
Yeah.
Right. The browser. So go top right. There you go. Yep. Let's log out.
Log out. Okay. Cool. So this is how I actually recommend creating an account. By the way, is just click create account. Here.
That link isn't working for me. The localhost 8080.
Same.
Really? Okay.
That's
Yeah. If you just type in localhost, it should automatically like kick you to this without the 8080.
no,
I'm
you have to
sorry.
have the 80.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but you have to put it's colon
80.
8080. It's not. Yeah, there's a colon in between the localhost and 8080.
Yeah,
So
it just says, can't reach this page.
Same.
Okay.
One of you guys share by
Same here.
chance?
Yeah. Again, make sure that there's a colon in there.
Mine showed up on localhost 3180. I don't know if
Same.
that's
3180 is.
Hey. Thanks, Charlie.
Oh. Why would it be 3180? Cool. All right.
Log in there. I don't know what that port's going to.
It's asking for a server name. What should we put in?
See, that's why like local the
Oh yeah, that's not the right. I don't know what that port's driving to.
yeah. 3180 is definitely not the right port. And I'm pretty much sure I forgot. I'm pretty sure I forgot my password. Nope. What the hell did I make my
Do
password?
the admin. Just do the backdoor one.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So 3180 shouldn't actually really take you anywhere. It's just
No,
the
that's
8080.
another service. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Can somebody that's having an issue share your screen so we can see?
Yeah, it's very weird. Charlie, do you want to share yours again so that I can see your what happens when you go to 8080?
Sure. Share. So when I go to 8080, I get that.
Weird. Okay, let me share my screen again for a second. So I wonder if Nucleus is not running on some of their computers. So check in your systems tray here for a little green circle that says Omniverse Systems Monitor.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have that?
Yeah.
Okay, right click and go to settings. It's gonna open up another web page, the 3080 port,
mm-hmm.
and make sure Nucleus says running. The only thing that should say stopped is drive.
Everything is
It's
running
running.
online, even the drive.
Mm-hmm.
Even drive is running?
That's weird. Are you guys doing this in Chrome or the old Edge?
This
Chrome.
one's Edge.
So we've got one of each.
Yeah.
Weird.
I'm gonna
Veronica,
try stopping it and starting it.
Yeah, you can stop it
to see what
and start
happens.
it. Yeah.
Actually, I don't have drive, but everything on the list is running. But drive is not an option.
Same here.
You don't even see the word drive?
Correct.
Correct. Yeah, same here.
Veronica, what student machine are you in?
Number 2.
Can you go ahead and close yours, and I'm going to log into yours and see what's going on.
Yeah. Sorry about this. These were all working.
I'm out.
Live demo.
Live demo. Okay. Wow, this thing only wants me to log in as NVST1. It hates me. Cool. So that's all I get is NVST1. What which was the last thing I kind of logged in on. Even though I'm logged in as server. Oh, let me see something. So the other thing I'm curious is if everybody opens view, if you open view, so if you just click the start bar and type in view, you'll open up Omniverse viewer. The first thing you get is this welcome screen. And you should be able to sign into this.
It's not launching Omniverse View.
When you type in view, and so the icon looks like this.
Yep.
What happens?
It just, nothing happens.
Oh, it might be opening in the background.
Okay.
Give it a second.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, yeah. The very, very first time it opens, we haven't opened it on every computer. It takes a second to compile something in the background, but it'll open fast after that. Yeah, just log in and see if you can log in. I should put the slide back up that says welcome to the early beta.
Yeah, hang on. I think I know another reason that could be happening.
George, let me know when I can log back in.
Yeah, will do. I may have to
Okay.
have somebody from Box get in, so I'm not quite ready to give it up, unfortunately.
No problem.
Why did something happen with like there's like something getting blocked?
I think, unfortunately,
I
think there's another thing that's being interfered. That's the problem.
We have extra machines. Which one were you on?
I just got a note that says Windows Defender Firewall has blocked some features of this app. I'm going to allow access, but I wonder if that's part of the problem.
Could be. How many people are having trouble seeing the 8080 thing? Is everybody?
I'm having that too.
I'm having trouble, but through your recommendation of opening Omniverse, I'm able to create an account.
Oh, okay. So what is it? The other people who try that, open up Omniverse, and on the login screen, it should automatically know how to get you. So on that login screen, if you just type in a username and they don't exist, it should kick you immediately to like create a new user. So like if I, typed in like, Bob the Builder, he doesn't exist. So when I go to sign in, it's going to say, oh, Bob the Builder doesn't exist. And it should kick you to this page, and then you can click create an account.
So I was able to sign in as the computer name again.
Oh, okay. All right, so how many people are still left where they don't have Revit open and they can't sign into Omniverse?
Still messing with Veronica's. It's not seeing localhost at all.
So Veronica, you're NVST2?
I'm logged in. Yeah, I just rebooted it. I want to
try NVST 12. I don't think anybody has 12. You can log into another machine if there's a problem with that one.
All right, I'll let you know if that fixes it.
We have 16 computers, so.
This is cool. Is there a way to recenter the orbit?
So you mean in Omniverse?
In Omniverse, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go through the things. It's not, so F is fit or zoom selected. So if you grab an object and press F, that's kind of recentering it. But also it's game nav, so you want to hold down the right mouse button and use WASD keys.
Okay.
But I'll go over that in a second. I don't want to leave anybody behind. Unless, Veronica, do you want me to kind of go through some things while you watch, or should we? Is Veronica the only one still having issues?
Yeah, I don't want to hold anyone up.
I do want to make sure you get a good demo. Okay, so there's everybody else. I assume, Veronica, you at least have the right. Oh, no, you're not in your computer. So everybody has the Rhino model open, and they have a tab, and there's a little green person logged in, correct?
Sorry.
Yep.
I was able to get there, create my account, but now it's still asking for the server name. It's just in Omniverse, it's not letting me sign in.
In Omniverse, like you opened up View, or you're talking about signing in from Revit?
View. Oh, okay. Never mind. I think I got it. Okay.
Okay. So let's all just go back to Revit for a second and make sure you're signed into Revit. Is anybody not signed into Revit? Okay, cool. So there's 3 buttons. I rarely use this one, but think of send to view. I'm not going to click it right now, but think of send to view as, you know, Omniverse's version of Enscape. It just takes whatever's on your screen and pops it into an Omniverse viewer. It, you know, it's a temporary file. You don't get to name it or save it. It just does it in the background. You don't really have to do much. So like if you just want to view your file in View, you can just click a button and do that. So then you have Publish. That's the one we're going to use right now. So Publish is going to allow me to create a project. So what I want to do is click Publish, and the Omniverse viewer should open. All right, this published content. All right, you should have some basic files in your Omniverse browser. Library, NVIDIA, projects. Your projects is probably empty. So what we want to do is just highlight the word projects, and then increase, just highlight the word projects. That's all we really need to do. All right. And then on the right, you have a couple publish options. Include cameras, include lights, include levels, fast export, and use Autodesk materials. I'm going to uncheck the last 2. What fast export does, just so we're aware, is it's an option to allow, well, just as it says, a faster export. But the way it does that is it doesn't collect the BIM data. So what does that mean? It means that, you know, when you export a wall, it's just a piece of geometry that's a wall. If you have that unchecked, all the properties of that wall, the R value, the, you know, the buildup, the whatever properties you have, will get attached to each object in the Omniverse so you can view it. And it'll get written to the USD. I mean, this is where the huge value of the USD will come into play, that you can make any property on any object and then access it anywhere. So fast export just basically says, just give me the geometry. I don't care about the BIM data. So I'm having that unchecked so you can see like the BIM data that gets carried over, because it's still fast on the export. And then this is an important thing. I'm going to go over this in a second after we actually get something in Omniverse, but I'll talk about this in a second. It's one of my most favorite features about the Omniverse, is the way it does asset mapping, materials and objects. And I find it brilliant. And I'll go over how that works and how we can kind of play with that in a second. But for right now, just make sure project is highlighted. So at the top, it'll say Omniverse projects. And then for file name, you can see it's going to make a special kind of USD file called project.usd, right? And so we're going to, well, let's just call this like my first OV Omniverse. This is May. My first Omniverse. And click publish. Now what it's going to do is do its initial export. Or again, I hate to use terms like export. It's going to do its initial sort of data setup. Let's call it that. It's a better way to call it. So it's done. This file is done. The initial data setup is done. So now let's open Omniverse. So Windows key, it should just be view. You can just type in the word view. It's a little green circle with a V next to it. Okay, just log in with your same login. So I think I'm logged in as NVST1, so I'm going to stay logged in as NVST1. Oh yeah, AEC Tech 2020 is what I made my password. Okay, so now I'm logged in. Cool. Are we here at this welcome screen, all logged in?
I'm here.
Yep. Okay, cool. So just click open, and it's going to take you to basically a browser. You have access to your local computer, or you have access to stuff that sits on the Omniverse server. Now, your Omniverse server right now is your local computer. That's the fun part about Omniverse. You don't need a fancy, like, separate computer. So technically, you're running it off a local host. I'm going to show you later how we can connect to an actual server, and you'll be connecting to, my computer and not your local computer. But again, like the bare minimum requirements to run Omniverse on a computer is just having a computer with an RTX card. So the server is now sitting locally, but the server can sit in AWS. It can sit anywhere you like, as long as you have a public IP and you have an IP address to that server. The data can sit anywhere you want it to be. And the itself doesn't require RTX cards. It's just the server to hold the USD data. So, which is cool. Anyway, if we go to our projects, what you'll see is my first OV project. And what it does is it made a whole bunch of support files. So to go over some of that, it basically puts the material, no, so it's not going to put the materials there, but it's going to have what's called project files. So as we start stacking more files in there, whether it's Rhino or Revit, 5 Revit files, it doesn't matter. It's going to dump the data here. And, so here is the name of my file, the materials, and the thing. All right. But what we really want is this one, the my first ov.project file. All right, right in the root. Just click open. And you don't have to save the blank stage. All right. Cool. Now, it looks horrible. No, It's because it's not pulling the sun system because there's no good lighting model to pull from in Revit. So does everybody have this like weirdly, horribly lit thing? Or let me ask the reverse. Does anybody not have this? Oh, okay. The sun and sky finally kicked in. It takes a second to compile what's called compile the shaders. So does everybody have something that looks like this? Yeah, good.
Yep.
Okay. So first thing I want to do is show you the sky model. So on the right tab, there is materials, and the second one is sky models. So it has your standard gaming system level sky models, which are called HDRIs, or it has a full sun and sky system built in, and that's the one we're going to use, which these are animated clouds and animated sun and sky systems. All right, so let's just use one of my favorite is Cumulus Light. So we're going to right click and click Set to World. And give it a update my sky model. Cool. Okay, so now that the sky model is updated, what I want to show you is these two tabs here. So one is your location in the world. There's some predefines. I'm going to pick New York because that's actually my location in the world. And you could adjust the north orientation. So just in case you need to adjust which way north is. All right. And then the one below it that looks like a gear, but it's really a sun, is time of day. Okay. So easy. You can animate this. You can animate it if you'd like. All right. So adjust the sun so it kind of looks nice. Navigation, by the way, middle mouse is pan. Left mouse is look. I'm sorry, right mouse is look. Okay. And then while the right mouse is held down, if anybody has ever gamed with a keyboard before, they'll be used to this. It's WASD. W is forward, S is back, A is left, D is right, and your E and C are E and Z. No, E and what? Q. I'm sorry. Yeah. E and Q are your up and down. E and Q are your up and down. And then it's middle mouse. No, it's, I'm sorry. Which one is it? There. Okay. So that's pretty much how I move around. And if you select an object and press F, that's zoom selected. Okay. So that's most of your moving this. All right. All right, cool. So we got some of this, we got some of that going. So material, grab an object, let's say the roof, and the search actually works really great. I don't know, let's do shingled roof, architecture. I don't know why that's architecture, but that's architecture. Highlight the object, right click, apply to selected. It's kind of that simple, and it'll just add a new material. You do not have UV mapping control in here. All the UV mapping listens to your host application. So however it's mapped in Rhino or Revit, you know, if you use spherical projectors, planar project, whatever your mapping system was in the program it came from is the mapping system you get here. And then maybe I'll make this one Spanish roof. I don't know why, but you can apply materials. You can grab an object, let's say the glass, all right? And this little button here is the object's properties. So it looks like, I don't know, a list. And you can see there's a bunch of stuff on the object. One is the material. Yeah, one is the material. The material is really what I want. Is if you click on an object and you click on its material, double click, it's going to highlight the material in the material browser for that glass, okay? This is where you have your standard PBR material colors. You can change the glass roughness, the refractivity of the glass, all of those kind of cool glass parameters. But also, if you want, you can right-click on the word glass and click Select Bounded Objects. That's going to select everything in the scene that has that material applied to it so that I can go back to the material browser, back to glass, and maybe assign a different glass. I don't know, let's do a tinted glass. Right-click, apply to selected. And it's going to change my material selection. So you can select objects by material, you can select in the browser. So, you know, if you were in the browser and you wanted to grab all of the windows, you can select it this way. So you have many ways to get at your object. Now the cool thing is these are overrides. So these overrides will stick, meaning I can keep pushing updates from Revit and these overrides will stick. Are we with me so far? Awesome. By the way, if you want to see the glass render better, it's just a preview thing, go to photo mode at the top. So you have draft, which is kind of like your draft is really, you're going to get the same kind of quality you get with like Enscape. I mean, that's pretty much draft mode. And then you go to photo mode and you're going to get like true refractions and reflections, and the glass will all of a sudden become alive, and like all kinds of nice things will happen. Preview is sort of somewhere in between the two, but I can show you how we can tweak this so that glass looks fine in preview too. But that's the reason it looks dark. It's because preview mode only has one bounced sample, and the glass requires more than one to really kind of go through it. Oh, I think George, are you talking or? Anyway, cool. So we'll go over some of the other stuff in a second, but that's your basic nav. So now there's a button up here I want you to toggle called Live Sync. And that's it, just turn it on. Now I'm gonna move my screen over. Hold on, I just lost my mouse. Hold on, I don't know what just happened. Come on. There we go. All right. So here's Omniverse. Here's my Revit file. Now in Revit, I want to do the same thing. I want to go to the Omniverse panel and check Live Sync. So once those two are checked, go ahead and grab an object in Revit. I'm going to copy this and just watch Omniverse. So everything I do here is now in full sync. Okay, in real time. you can move stuff. You can, I don't know. You can create objects. So let's create some land. I don't know. I'm just gonna go to. I'm assuming if you don't know Revit, let me know. I have a feeling everybody on this call has the same painful relationship with Revit that the rest of us have. So I'm just gonna create a floor. Basically, I'm just gonna create a big old floor, and then I'm gonna cut out that piece. Don't attach, and it's just going to magically appear in Omniverse, right? So I'm in now full live sync mode. So notice the roof tile is still the roof tile it is here, but I was able to stack override the material. We call it stack because basically one of the amazing properties of USD is to say, all right, you have an object. It came from something, in this case, Revit. But now somebody else wants to say, no, I want to override your material or override a property. It doesn't change it. It adds a layer stack and says, all right, this object came from here. Now we're going to override it here. And so hierarchically, I've now said in Omniverse, I'm overriding that material. So it doesn't mess with my Rhino stuff, but it does with my other stuff. Now, I'm going to show you a really cool feature. In this file, I believe, unless I purged it out, I might have purged it out, unfortunately. Damn it, let me see if I purged it out, just in order for me to, I did. Oh no, well, yeah. Do the people map? I think the people map still, right? I purged out all the trees, unfortunately. Anyway, I'm going to show you what that means in a second, though. Okay, so live sync. Please do whatever you want while it's automatically syncing. And now what's nice is, let's say this was 3 or 4 Revit files, like all of this can just be updating in real time, working on the file, if they want to see these things happening in real time as they move. Somebody else could be looking at this. Let's say somebody who knows nothing about Revit, you know, like PMs, and they just want to see the design. They can just be looking at the Omniverse screen while you play in Revit, and then they don't have to worry about Revit. They just can just worry about the design as you play. You know, it captures most anything, you know, as quickly as you can kind of do it. Let's put a door on the 2nd floor. It seems like it might be not a good place for a door, but whatever. Ooh, I think I just broke one. Oh, sorry, I'm in the command still. So there, and now we have a door on the 2nd floor, you know, so I probably want to give him a balcony to walk on or something, who knows, but you get the idea that, you know, it's syncing in real time. But we can go a little bit further if we want in Omniverse, and it's very stable, by the way, and I'm going to show you the Rhino connector in a second. One of the other cool things in here is, I bet you I don't have it. Yeah. Because I purged it, and I don't think I have any of the default stuff. I'm basically looking for the RPC stuff. I purged it out of this file. And Revit 2021 no longer comes with default stuff. Anyway, I'll show you a better example of how it works anyway. So go to architecture, go to component, and let's see what components we have. Here, a sofa. No, it's an ottoman. Where's the actual sofa? Here, sofa. Let's put a sofa outside. And again, I have it minimized, but we go here, the sofa appears outside. You know, so keep minimizing the wrong thing. So your live sync kind of works, but I want to show you a very cool feature. And I think I can change this on the fly. I've actually never tried to change this on the fly. So that's kind of fun. Hold on, I just accidentally resized my Teradici thing. Thank you. So we can try. So how does it know? Wait, where's the little person that sits in these files? Like, isn't there like a little dude here? Yeah, he is at map. I didn't think so. I don't think the guy maps, does he? I don't know. Let me see. I'm gonna. George, do the people map? No, the people don't map, right? Just the trees. I can't hear you, George. You're on mute.
Sorry. People we don't have yet.
I didn't think so. Okay.
Soon. Yeah.
And in order for me to make this file, anyway, I purged out the trees by accident. So I'll show you that in a second. But I'm going to show you the same concept, which is called asset mapping. It's one of my most favorite things, and it works even cooler in Rhino as a workflow. So this thing is called seat single with island. Okay. That's what it's called. So do me a favor, open up just good old Windows Explorer. And go to your documents folder. And in documents, you're going to see Omniverse. In Omniverse, you're going to see Rhino and Revit. Let's go to Revit. And in there, there's some cool things that are just CSV files. Now, unfortunately, this computer, I just realized, does not have Excel. So we're going to have to open it like with Notepad, and I'm sorry for that, but it will still work, trust me. So what this does is there's one for the RCP stuff, one for materials, MDL, and one for, they call it furniture, but really it's anything that's a family. So it probably should be called a family table. So right click on this and edit, and it'll just open up in Notepad. Obviously, if we gave you Excel, this would be much nicer. And what it basically says is, and again, looking at this in Excel is much nicer. Actually, let me show you what this looks like in Excel really quickly from my actual computer that actually has Excel. Sorry about that. Documents, Omniverse, Revit, furniture table. Let's look at it. It's just a little bit easier to look at in Excel. Okay. It basically says when you are doing live sync or publishing, it says, all right, if the family is named this, when it goes into Omniverse, it should be this asset. So you can have your Revit assets that look good as a 2D, for documentation, but you can then say automatically through a very simple list that says, nope, I want to use this really awesome, like highly detailed, it's got like covers and pillows and material and shading and like, high-end asset for the bed, right? That would be ridiculous to have in Revit because you don't need that in Revit, but you do want that for visualizations. So we can basically just say, and again, if we look at Omniverse really quick, and we go down here, if we go back to Omniverse, if we go down here, and we go to the NVIDIA AEC library, NVIDIA Cool. That thing is freaking out on me. Sample AUC. What the hell is going on? This thing's like freaking out on me. I don't know why. Okay, NVIDIA, AEC, library, assets, furniture, beds. So you can see there's a bunch of pre-done assets for you, like beds, right? And they also have names, right? Or I'm gonna go to seating and AEC leather. That's cool. Oh wait, I am material now. No. Furniture, so that's a miscellaneous furniture system. I don't know what we got in here. Well, whatever, I'm just gonna pick one. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm gonna pick sofa. All right, so what we can do is when we edit this thing, it's just called sofa, which is great. So basically we can just, again, this is easier in Excel, but I can basically say, all right, I'm just gonna make another line, say bed. So that's the, again, let's look at it in Excel. It's a little bit nicer. Bed is the type, the family, and then this is the type. All right, so if I go back to Revit, this is seat dash single width island, right? Seat dash single width island. So in my thing, I'm just gonna go to seat dash single with island. The family is called model with island. I'm sorry, the type is called model with island. Don't worry about the numbers. What I want that to do is go to, so the path is, if we look in Omniverse, it's furniture seating, okay? Furniture seating. And so the point is, like, somebody can set this up like beforehand. All of your internal assets can get mapped to really nice high quality content, and it's called sofa. Right, so this is the Omniverse asset. This is the Revit asset. All right, I'm just gonna save this. Now, I've never tried to edit that in live sync mode, so I'm super curious what happens. So we all get to see what happens. Whether or not that table listens to me or not. It doesn't. So I'm gonna delete it and I'm gonna add another one. And then I'm wondering if it's gonna listen to me. Oh, see, it didn't even, I think I like kind of broke it. I've never tried editing that table thing. So that's super fun. I might have made an error to the table because it didn't even come across. So probably not. Oh, I didn't get out of the editing mode. Yeah, that still looks like the Revit asset. So I guess, George, the table doesn't update in real time. I guess I have to restart view every, like I've never tried to update the table in real time.
Yeah, I think it's a connection thing. You have to.
Yeah. Okay. So just to kind of do that, I'm just going to close. Well, I'm going to uncheck. I'm just close view for a second, and I'm just going to reopen it. I've always done all the table editing before I open view. Then that makes sense that it's going to look at it once. Well, let's try it again.
Robert, I got a Revit question.
Yep.
So if you make changes while you're not in sync mode, and then you hit the live sync, is it gonna, how do you, for lack of a better term, refresh your view with the new edits that you've made to your Revit model?
Awesome question. And I brought up this workflow, and they're kind of working on like a resync button. But right now, once you stop live sync, it won't remember the changes. So I'm going to show you, you just have to republish, and then the connection is remade. So right now, it's one little extra step to reestablish the connection. And I'll actually go through that right now. Check. Yeah, I'll kind of go through that right now. Actually, I probably shouldn't have opened the project, but give me a second. Yeah, so it's a good question though, and it's one of the things I had brought up too as like a workflow issue, like why resync the whole model to reconnect live sync when you can just maybe do some sort of small differential. But right now, you once you disconnect live sync and you want to get back into live mode, you just have to do one extra little connection step. And so basically what that means is if I go to Omniverse here and I turn off live sync, the best thing to do is just, so you can make your edits, you can do whatever you need to do, you're not in live sync anymore. It won't remember that if I turn live sync on, because only when live sync on is it like watching these objects, right? So what you want to do to reestablish live sync is just click publish again. It's not going to overwrite my changes, which is cool. But so basically you go to project. This is the kind of tricky part. When you're republishing, it's very important. You have to remove currently, and I promise, or they promise this will be fixed. You have to remove the .project.usd. So it should just be the name of the project that you should republish it to. That's how it understands to just update it and not make a new one. So if I, again, project AEC. By the way, did everybody get their computers fixed? Please, yes.
So it depends on what everybody's doing. I've found the issue, and it's going to require a change on the machines and a reboot.
Okay, did the NV11 work for you? Did the 12, did the other computer work?
Yeah, I
Okay.
figured it out.
Okay, awesome.
I'm just trying to catch up.
Oh, yeah, I mean, what I can recommend is maybe we take, like, if you want to take a 10-minute break. Okay,
anyway. Charles posed a question about if an asset is edited in View and in Revit, when live sync's turned off, how are the edits resolved? Which edit takes priority?
Okay, so right now you can't edit an object. You can change its material, you can change its location in space. All of that is resolved through a stack. So if I move the couch in Omniverse, Omniverse will always remember that I moved it 10 units from its original position. So if I move the couch in Revit, it's still going to translate it 10 more units over, because it's going to remember that Revit had it here, and then in Omniverse, I added a layer that says, nope, I actually want it here. So it will remember that, I don't know what just happened. I'm just going to kill the seconds per second. It will remember that translation. Does that answer your question, Charlie? So all of the edits are hierarchical. So one doesn't wipe out the other. You're welcome to unmute yourself, Charlie. We can have a conversation.
Yeah, no, cool. Thanks. I was kind of curious, like which one like takes priority, but the whole stack thing is another new kind of notion that other applications haven't taken into effect previously.
Yeah. So the idea was born out of like, you know, like in a media and entertainment world, basically a model artist only cares about the geometry that they're modeling, but then the lighting artist wants to add all new lights to the scene that the model artist doesn't care about. And then the texture artist has to go and change all the materials because like his job is texture. So they all get to do what they need to do without erasing anybody else's work. And that's the underpinning of USD, and that's the kind of workflow that gets brought to you here. The benefit, the thing that M&E has had forever is the two-way street. So for instance, like everybody talks about how crappy Revit file formats are and stuff like that, and these proprietary formats. So Pixar had so much clout in the M&E world that when you're working in Maya, you no longer have to use a Maya native file. You can just work natively in USD. If you're in Houdini, you can work natively in USD, which is amazing. So they basically said, forget about your proprietary formats. We're just going to supplant it with USD. And so like they actually have native integration, and that like that's the hope, like, you know, two-way native integration into their base apps. So like you no longer open a Maya file in Maya, you open a USD file, and it's the same USD file somebody opens in Houdini, and they all get to work on, you know, or, you know, whatever it is they're whatever app, you know, ZBrush or whatever they're working in. And so they actually just supplanted all the proprietary formats and said, nope, we're going to work natively.
Yes, please.
Exactly. And so they've successfully done that. So if I open Maya and I open Unreal, I have two-directional support. If I move a chair in Unreal, it moves it in Maya. If I move it in Maya, it moves it in Unreal. If I overwrite a stack in Unreal, that change you can either accept or to not propagate back. So it's a super great workflow, and it's 100% open. So like, you know, maybe one day we can get to that, but the USD has the ability to do all that. And it's been proven, and they've been doing it in the other industry for a while, because nobody has to like send, you know, you don't have to have the proprietary format and the non-proprietary format. You just work in the non-proprietary open source format, which is, I think, very cool. All right, sorry, I'm reopening my view connection, and I'm hoping my little edit actually came through. I don't actually know what's happening now. Did I not open the right? Oh, something happened. Something happened to my export. I did something. I screwed something up, so I might have like dropped it. I'm gonna go back to publish. AC. Remove that. I'm gonna republish it. It looks like I accidentally erased all my data, so that's cool. Maybe I was too quick. I didn't let it actually publish out. Weirdly enough, this small file takes like, you know, 15 seconds to publish, but the really huge file I was working on takes like 25 seconds, you know, to publish. So actually the publish times aren't too terrible for the initial publish. Cool. All right, so if I go back to here, if you're in a file and you just need to reload it, there's a file reopen, which is really cool. It just basically says, just reopen the file I'm currently in. Yeah, there's no geometry. Oh wait, no, sorry, I'm not looking at the right thing. There it is. I was just zoomed very far away. All right, so Omniverse is making a liar out of me because those couches did not map. And I'm assuming it's because I typed something in wrong. So it's NVIDIA, libraries, assets, furniture, seating. Yeah, and it was called SOFA, I think, just SOFA. Yeah, SOFA. So let me double check. Maybe I could have mistyped something in here. Seating. It is case sensitive, by the way. So I probably just typed something wrong. SOFA. And then NVIDIA, AC, library, assets, furniture, seating. So I probably typed something wrong on the Revit side. Seating with single island. Model with island. Yeah, I wonder what I mistyped. Seat. Single with island. I think I got that right. Model with island. 1-1 Sierra sofa. Yeah, I don't know why it didn't work, but it usually works. Sorry about that. I'll figure it out in a second. All right. Does anybody want to take like a 10-minute break, or do you want me to just kind of like keep going through this?
Keep going.
All right.
Yeah. Let's get to Rhino.
Yeah, let's get to Rhino. Fine. So do me a favor so that all of your objects can live in the right place. Export this. We can work in a completely separate file, but if we just export this as a DWG, everybody knows this drill, hopefully. Click on the modify button, make sure we have solids, and export a old ass DWG because Rhino still hasn't updated their DWG here. Let's get to Rhino, everybody. Fine.
While we're waiting for that to export, I'm kind of curious in the media and entertainment industry, the final deliverable is a movie.
Yeah.
Right. And so I wonder what the digital twin is, I guess, ultimately what we're building here. But how does that interface with the other stakeholders in the industry, clients, contractors, et cetera, et cetera?
So I'm gonna tell you my thought from like 5 years out from where we are with adopting USD is it is so much better organized and more powerful than what IFC can ever dream to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for me, I feel like USD is that, really great format that this is what we can deliver. So the contractor can get the pieces of information they need out of, a USD file, the clients, the owners, every stakeholder, everything that they would need to access can live in there because USD doesn't set limits on what an object can hold. So if you want to put pricing data on every piece of object in there, you can do that. If you want to write a simple Python program to go and easily just traverse that at high speed and just pull out all of the pricing data for every object, you can do that. So like the ability, for the data to live in an open and extensible format has so much more potential than what we currently are doing, if that maybe answers your question. Of course, those apps don't exist yet. We have to build our Python libraries up to do that. But the big thing is like this system was designed to hold terabytes of data. So like holding an entire city is actually not that difficult. Like you can have, so it's so highly optimized that you can have every nut and bolt in one of those USD files and it will not in any way choke the system. And then what NVIDIA did was really cool is that like basically compute is parallel. If one graphics card isn't enough, you put two. If two isn't enough, you put three. If you really need to make it to 8, you're probably visualizing the nuts and bolts of 30 buildings and an entire city block, right? So it's completely massively, you know, extensible, which I haven't seen before either.
Yeah, that's great. And then I guess the follow-on to that is, you know, as contractors become more sophisticated and begin to adopt augmented reality and, you know, the HoloLens on everybody's head as the workers are building things. I suppose this is also a platform that eventually makes its way into that.
No, that's already there. You already have that, which is great. Yeah. So that's already there. And I'm hoping to get to it before it's out. But the really awesome thing too is because there's so much uptake in the M&E world with USD, like it's already built into Unreal. So for instance, this Maya model, which now has direct live sync to, I can just open the USD file in Unreal. It's not an export. You don't need Blueprint. You don't need any of that. It's a native thing to Unreal. So I could be modeling in Revit and viewing something in Unreal. And if I don't want to use the Omniverse viewer, it's fine. Sorry, George. And you can just press view in HoloLens, and you still get the same experience because USD is already deeply integrated into that software. So you don't need fancy blueprints or anything like that. Like it just opens USD natively. Like it was a native file, which means that as Omniverse is live syncing the data to it, so is your Unreal. So, you know, you can instantaneously have, you know, all of that workflow as well, which is amazing. You know, which, you know, we have Unreal in here. I'm going to try and get to it. Okay. Rhino. Here's Rhino. Everybody loves it, right? Cool. Rhino. I'm just going to make a thing. Grab it. Oh, it's really badly named. Whatever. I'm going to dump all that in there. Okay. Cool. All right, I'm gonna go on this here. And just for fun, I'm gonna put a little box. Awesome, we have a box. I'm gonna hide this Revit file right now, but we have a box. All right, so Revit. Revit, you can have an Omniverse tab as well. It's got the same basic set of functions. Sign in. So do as it says. In here, what's cool is if you're already signed in, it should just like whatever. It doesn't turn green yet. You are signed in. It's fine. All right. So Omniverse is still opened. There it is.
Does everybody else have the Omniverse tab in Rhino?
Would you not have Omniverse tab?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay. Who is it not there for? I had this problem on one of the computers. Okay, I had this problem on one of the computers. I don't know why, but do me a favor, just type in plugin manager.
Okay.
And
so it's installed but just disabled.
So one of two things. So
maybe
yes, maybe not.
Yeah.
So just click install, and you're going to go to Program Files, NVIDIA Corporation, Omniverse, Rhino. And in there is a file that ends in, it's called Omni Rhino plugin RHP. Just turn that on and the tab will appear. I saw that happen on one or two of the instances this morning. It's an easy fix though. And then as soon as you do that, you should see, it's like, it was floating off to like the right for me. Like it's just like randomly floating somewhere and you can dock it.
Yeah, by default, it always floats. I don't know why on the install. And then I thought I docked everybody, but maybe we missed some during the setup.
Okay, so it was NVIDIA Corporation, Omniverse, Rhino.
And then in there, it's Omni Rhino RHP. Omni Rhino. Something.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And then you should, as soon as you click install and OK, you should just see the floating tab. It's floating. I'm
yes,
sure it's,
there it is.
Yeah.
Got
okay,
it.
great. Yeah, it's you have to go hunt for it. Yep. Okay, so just click the login button to make sure you're signed in. And then go ahead and make a little box. And we're going to do the same thing, but here's the cool thing. This is how we add things to a project. So we go to we have to do an initial publish. And we're going to go to our projects. And you're going to go to your My First OV thing. And what you want to do is just have it backed up to here. Projects, My First, this. You don't want the slash or anything. You just basically need it to be, say, projects, and then the name of your project. There are a bunch of options in the exporter. So export only selected if you want. Separate by objects, that's mine, I use that one a lot. Basically what it's gonna do is take all of some of the objects under a particular layer and it might combine them into a single mesh. You might not want that. So if you check that, every object maintains its own object. And then you can map materials by layer or by name. With none of them selected, it just goes through a default order. First, it's gonna see if there's a material on the object. If it is, it'll use that. Then I'll check, is there a material on the layer? If there is, it will go and use that. If there is not, it will just create a material for you and name it whatever the layer name was named. So I don't have anything selected right now.
Robert, are we going to use the same geometry? Because then wouldn't that kind of
hide it? It won't show what's hidden. That's why I turned off. Sorry, yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Hide in Omniverse?
No, hide in Rhino.
I'm asking, if you import this into Omniverse, won't it just be overlapping?
No, because I hid it in Rhino. It only exports what's visible.
Oh, okay.
So I turned the layer off in Rhino. That has my base geometry. I mean,
Gotcha.
the better
You're just
setup.
trying to export that little piece, right?
Yeah, exactly. The better setup for this is you shouldn't obviously work in the file that your Revit link is in. You know, what you should do is like work share that in, and then that way you don't even have to worry about it because it's not going to export the work share. Just so you have it located correctly. I'm just doing this for speed. If that makes sense. I mean, really, I shouldn't have brought that whole file in. It should have just been a work share. And then you click publish. Cool. Now, if we go back to Omniverse, I don't have it in live sync mode. So what I have to do is just reopen the project. We can put it in live sync in a second. But what you're going to see is under my world, I should have seen the Rhino file in here. Super weird. Let me see if it actually made the Rhino file. So what it should have done is under your projects, under project files, Yeah, it didn't make the Rhino file. Sorry, hold on, let me re-export it. I don't know why it didn't make the project file. I mean, it should take half a second to export a cube, which it did. Weird.
It worked.
Oh, yours worked?
Yeah.
Glad yours worked.
I had export selected, or I grabbed the objects and then exported.
Yeah, same here. I had it selected when I exported.
And I didn't have to refresh or do anything. It just showed up.
It shouldn't care. It shouldn't care about export selected, but I'll do it that way. Well, I know that will certainly work.
Is there a live link with Rhino or no?
There is. I'm going to turn that on in a second. Oh, it instantly refreshed because you had live link still on.
Yes, I had live sync on when I did the Rhino.
Yeah. If you have live sync on when you do the Rhino, oh, there we go. Now I got my default.
Because basically the project now has more, or it reads what information's in the project folder.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So now I see it. So there's my cube on layer 2. Except I feel like I lost my other geometry. Oh, I had this happen. Is your cube enormous? It's only happening to me, I think.
No.
Is your cube out of scale, or is it correct?
No, it's exactly how it looks in Rhino.
Yeah, this is happening to just my version of this. I love it. Sorry. I'm getting this weird thing, and I think it's because I didn't save my file, and I probably should have saved my file. Just give me a second. I have to go here and do some math. 0833. I don't know why this is just my own personal copy, so I'm glad this is not a bug that you guys have. Okay. Cool. Now I bet you that cube is right where it's supposed to be. I think. Maybe. I'm not actually quite sure anymore about anything at this point. No. Oh, did I put the scale on the wrong thing? Oh, yeah, sorry. I have this scale with geometry.
What are the units in Omniverse?
Centimeters, and it would take care of it automatically for you. So theoretically, and for the most part, it should just take care of it for you. Okay, so I'm in live sync here. And basically, if we go into Rhino, we can also go into live sync mode. So again, it's this little button here. Just turn it on. You have to keep this window open. You cannot close this window. This is a Rhino thing currently, so just move this off to the side and forget it exists. So with that being said, you know, I can move this around and it just will update. You can keep modeling in here, and the rest of the cubes should come in. This is the problem with export selected. Now it's getting all confused. But anyway, one thing I want to definitely show is just like there are tables for Revit, there are tables for Rhino, except for Rhino right now, it's materials, okay? So what's really cool about this is, and I think this is one of my favorite things, is let's say you know there's a material in Omniverse and it's named copper. I actually know that there's a material in Omniverse and it's named copper. If I go to the material of this layer in Rhino and I just make a new material and I just say, all right, I know there's an Omniverse material called copper.
Oh my God. I am so sorry.
It will just automatically map the word copper to it, which it didn't do in my case.
I think
What
you
happened?
misspelled copper.
Oh, I did. So it probably is copper. It's just, it's the, there we go. It just automatically says, all right, there's a material in Omniverse called copper, and you wanted me to use copper material, so I will just make it copper. And so what's really great is you can have all of your materials set up in Rhino for however you want them. As long as the material has a matching material name, or you make a material map, it'll just automatically do that for you. I think there's one called, what, Glass Clear? Is that what it's called? Glazing Clear?
Yeah, I just don't remember if it's together. I think it's
There's
together.
an underscore. I think there's an underscore in there.
Underscore? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Here, let's just do burnished stainless steel. That way I don't spell it wrong. I'm just going to copy. So the point is that, like, you know, it's also just live mapping assets. So you can spend a lot of time making awesome Omniverse assets. You can, you know, then all the designer has to do is just, you know, get the name right. And now it's burnished stainless steel. And you can connect the two. Now, this doesn't, so everything can be live thinking at the same time, which is really cool. So for instance, if I'm in Revit, which I still am, you know, the Revit designer can still be moving this around. Still be moving that around and have that update, you know? So like, it's on the other side of the building, but it's there. Have that update. So everybody can be working in the program that they want to be working in, updating things in real time as they need them, and then just automatically doing whatever it is they need to do. Now, this is what I was talking about, stack transformable changes. So let's say somebody comes in here and says, no, that should not be burnished copper. That should be water. Obviously, nobody should do that. Actually, let's do here a stone. Okay, there. Now it's stone. So even though I said that should be burnished copper, the vids people say, no, it looks better as this material. So the stack override maintains itself, which is, I think, a cool feature. So that you can make edits in here and you can make changes without worrying that, like, it's gonna screw up the downstream thing. All right. So I know we end at 12, right? So I definitely want to give like 15 minutes for people to catch up and to ask questions. You know, show, you know, anything they want me to show. So one thing I do want to show you is I gave you a very large data set. I gave you that file. I gave you my Maya file, my Revit file, my Rhino file, and my Grasshopper files that generated the really big this project here. So you can kind of play with a much larger project. I think I'm still in single GPU mode, so you'll actually see that it works fine with one GPU too. This scene takes about 2 minutes to open, but I definitely want to open it up to any questions that and I wanted to give you a much more complex sort of file to play with. That's made up of multiple things. I didn't get into the Grasshopper stuff. The Grasshopper stuff is actually pretty cool too. Well, that's opening in the background. Let me just spin up some Grasshopper stuff. This is 3 days old, by the way, the Grasshopper component. So I wouldn't even call that beta. Let's call this like super duper proof of concept. Like incredibly proof of concept. So with the Omniverse node, you can sign in. You can also be in live sync mode at the same time. Like anything else, you first have to the first thing you have to do is publish. Oh, sorry, yes. Please be good and save your files. I'm just gonna call it unnamed GH because like we need more of those kinds of files out there. You're going to do the same thing. You're just going to point it to the AEC tech folder. Wow, I'm just about to overwrite my my big file. You're going to point it to my Omniverse, my first Omniverse thing. And you're just going to remove the ending there. And you're going to publish. Now that it's published, give it a second. I'm going to go into live sync. So it's not going to look, I don't have that file open, sorry. Let me reopen that file. I have the big file open, the like super big crazy file. So this is the file I gave you guys, by the way. This Grasshopper skin, Rhino Grasshopper skin, Revit building, Maya and Unreal assets for the scenery. This is another Maya file here. That's the one we were playing with. That's linked into that. Oh, you can see obviously my changes were propagated. So that's the other cool thing is you can have multiple sub projects where if you just want to see your little world, and you can have the full world and they can all be sharing the same data across multiple projects, which is pretty cool, I think. Let me reopen that other project, my sample project. Just be careful if you're sharing the data across multiple projects that you don't do this and you accidentally wipe out, some of the stuff you spend a lot of time working on. But that's an easy fix. Oh, this file doesn't like me to close it very much right now. It takes like forever. So I found the quickest way to close this file is to do this because it takes about 7 minutes to close that file. And I didn't make any changes, so I'm okay. Just removing it. So be very careful with the Grasshopper node right now. For some reason, the way they decided to code the initial one is whether you have anything plugged in or not, it doesn't matter. It is going to stream the entire Grasshopper graph. Whether something's plugged into the node or not, it just is going to take the entire Grasshopper graph and stream it, which yeah. gonna, so when you have like 2 nodes in your grasshopper graph, awesome. When you have like 7 nodes in your grasshopper graph, not so awesome. Sorry, it's just opening. Things have to open. In the meantime, I'm gonna just do like a move, and then multi X, and then like a series. I'm just gonna make a whole bunch of boxes because that's what we need. All right, did this open yet? Why is it not opening? Come on, open sesame. Very weird. It should have been open by now. Something happened. It's because I crashed it before. I don't think it liked the fact that I crashed it, but whatever. There, good. It actually opened this time. It's compiling and done. So you can see I now have unnamed unnamed okay, I just gotta figure out. This is weird. Oh, sorry, I don't have live sync on. Oh, wow. What's the scale of this? Oh my God. I need like, I don't know. I probably should have checked my scale. Clearly my scale is kind of off, but do you see Omniverse in the background?
Mm-hmm.
So basically the point is that you can, so yeah, there's a scale problem with my Rhino right now. I don't know what it is, but everything's too big. Anyway, that's the step size. Obviously the boxes are still like way too big. You know, so I guess I can scale everything. But right now it's dumping the whole graph, so just kind of be careful. Yeah, so even like half scale. Not great. You get the point. You can make a grasshopper object, and then you can make many of them, and you can do all kinds of fun stuff with the grasshopper object, and it will just update in real time. Coming next, materials and other fun stuff like that. But again, because it's in the Omniverse and it's got like layer stacking, I can go and, you know, just like make a material. By the way, white mode that they were talking about before is just up here, and you can just make it like kind of like white card mode. But if you just want to, I don't know, make it like black plastic while you're playing with it, you can do that. And then that way, you can just kind of play around with everything, and it just gets overridden to black plastic right now. And again, like right now, it's just like one object. This is a 3-day-old proof of concept that you can live sync Grasshopper into Omniverse and stitch it into the rest of the scene with everything else. So your Grasshopper can be live, your Rhino, your Revit, everything gets to, you know, just be what it wants to be. Obviously, there's a scale issue, but you know, I can fix that. It's a scale issue that's, you know, a problem on my end. I think it's 0.083. No, 0.083. Yeah, so now it's actually should be scaled semi-correctly for the boxes. All right, questions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the power of Omniverse and playing with it. Anybody get stuck on anything?
Not really.
All right, cool. Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah. I've got a little issue with Rhino not finding an MDL table, but I'm sure that's just some sort of configuration thing that can be solved pretty easily.
Yeah, again, like these are like fresh off the
Yeah.
boat installs. So
Oh, that's great.
some of them are a little stuff.
So what? So I get the USD file is well, the USD platform is a way to get the project data between programs. I guess so I'm just trying to piece together all of, like, why you would use the Omniverse over, say, just visualizing all of it in Unreal.
So the Omniverse piece,
the Omniverse is collecting all of them.
Yep.
So
exactly.
so USD is just it's a file format. That's the easiest way to put it, right? So what Omniverse is doing is a few things. One, we're making it so that you leverage MDL out of these applications, right? Because that's our open source material. And then we apply our PhysX piece for a simulation. And then the platform that is Omniverse is many things, right? The one key piece is what we call nucleus, and that is the central thing that is communicating and sending the differential of the USD file, right? So if you didn't have Omniverse and you used, for instance, like Maya and Houdini, as Robert said, you're just exchanging file formats, right? You're opening it, but they're not communicating with each other. That's what Omniverse is allowing you to do. Then take it a step further with our kind of view into the simulated world, right? The view that is doing path tracing. That's our own render built from the ground up. So it does real time and then it does path tracing. It's the first renderer of that type. And then with that, we're giving you the ability to modify things with materials and other things. And then that comes into also our microservices. So you can actually write your own stuff via Python and tie in different simulations. So there's videos out there where we've done a simulation of earthquake data, and we took an actual scene, an apartment scene, and we tied an earthquake data to the scene because of physics, and you were able to see everything in the kitchen moving as basically the earthquake was happening, right? So doors were opening, things were flying off the shelf, tables were bouncing around. Similar to doing light simulation, that's a piece we'll be adding soon with iRay to be able to simulate light accurately, but you could tie in, again, CFD simulations. There's a whole bunch of things. So the key difference is USD is the underlying piece, but Omniverse is the thing that helps communicate broadly across everything.
Yep. So think of it this way, like there's Revit, and then you enable work sharing. And now multiple people can be in one Revit file at the same time. Then you take that Revit file and you stick it on BIM 360. And now it's a cloud-enabled, multi-work sharing, multiple thing. And then you add Forge on top of that and you can kind of leverage data. Now, imagine all of that, but actually working. So basically, that's what the Omniverse kind of lets you do. So like the data lives in the cloud, or it can live in the cloud, like on an AWS server. It's very easy to tap into it with Python. You can run microservice stuff. You can go in, you can get one object, you can tell it to do something, or you can run a light sim on it, or you can move it and update it. So basically, what the Omniverse server does is it allows that like global collaboration and access, to all of this. On top of that, you have a kick-ass renderer where you can like share it with your client and view it in VR. And to be honest, like the renderer is pretty kick-ass, but I'm more excited about leveraging the data and, being able to like make those links. In fact, this interface, by the way, is mostly built out of Python. So like, if you want to, like, this is just a widget that NVIDIA made. That's just a Python thing that's just changing a bunch of variables in here. Like if you wanted to make your own widget that is like, an FAR calculator that gets objects and gets object data and like spits out like, you can do that. Like you have, like the platform is there, and actually the scripting is pretty easy. And I gotta say, it's something you should check out if you just type in Pixar USD. It's incredibly well documented how to access every drop of a USD data and what you can do with it and how you can mutate it, and some of the more advanced features and tool sets in there. The SDK kit is super mature. So like anything you ever would want to do with this data is like, there's probably an API call for it. Like anything you can think of, inside of that USD, there's probably, a Python API call for it. So it's also super open and super extensible. And so like to build these little UIs and these little widgets is actually really great. And all of this is, they're basically eating their own, stuff, because they're basically making this out of the same APIs that, eventually you'll have access to. So it also just makes leveraging the open data much, much easier.
Speaking of access, what's the possibility of using this after today? Maybe not on these servers, but even if we have, I have an RTX laptop. What's the timeline?
We announced the open beta last week. Unfortunately, it was stated by our CEO, "Hey, go get it." Well, it's not quite there. You can go sign up, and we hope to be out soon. Few weeks is what I would say, maybe. So the biggest thing is just if you go on to the piece, sign up for there's an early adopter, don't do that, do the beta. And then when the beta comes out, you'll get notified, and it's completely open at that point, and everybody can go get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet.
And Sebastian, don't worry, I know somebody who has access to it. So we can start talking about using it on more global scale of projects.
Thank you.
So it's fine.
Sounds good. Thank you, George. Thank you, Robert. I don't know if there's
All right. If I'm happy to take questions as long as you guys need. I'm supposed to let you guys go by at least 11:30 for the sort of meetup, but
12:30.
12:30 is what I meant. For the meetup, but
we'll have to kick everybody off soon, because we gotta do something to the machines to fix one of the issues. I gotta
what's the best protocol to shut this down?
Oh, just close the Teradici thing.
Okay. Yeah. All of our stuff will be open at that time, I guess.
Oh, please make sure you log out of Revit. Please absolutely make sure you log out of Revit, because there's another group that's going to be using these computers. So absolutely make sure you're logged out of Revit. And if you've logged into anything
of your own,
log out, because there's the afternoon group is going to be using the same 16 computers. So please make sure you've logged out of everything that you might have logged into, because we're not going to wipe them obviously now. We're going to wipe them after the day is out.
will they be able to see our NVIDIA login thing?
Anything you did on the computer, they'll be able to see, but that's okay now that there's an NVIDIA login. That's what they need anyway.
So Robert, I've got another question. Obviously, there are reasons why you wouldn't want to leave the Omniverse, because it's wonderful in here. But if you needed to render out an animation or a set of still images or something like that, I assume that's possible.
That's all built in, yeah. Yep. There's a movie manager. There's a whole bunch of extensions that are turned off by default. And again, these are just things built on top of it. But there's a movie renderer. There's a final frame renderer. There's you can do animations, videos. Honestly, one of the easiest things to do is just click this button, and it just it's not really a screenshot. It just makes a super sampled image, and you can just keep moving around and make hundreds of those really fast. And you can super sample them and things like that. So every time it's like, oh, that's a good shot, do that. And then
does it save those locations?
So cameras, yeah. So cameras, if that's a nice view, you can just create it, name the view. And it works by typical camera. So you can make, so again, like this is coming from the M&E world. So you can make animated cameras, not animated cameras, still cameras. But yeah, you just don't put spaces in the name. Yeah, for some reason okay. And then that's it. So you can make as many cameras as you'd like. So these are all the cameras from Revit, by the way, and Rhino. So your named views and your Revit stuff, they all come in. They're here and accessible. So if you made a view in Revit, not that it's super useful here because, I moved half the stuff around. But if you made a view in Revit or you made a view in Rhino, those cameras will also come in, and you can make as many as you'd like. You have full things for focal length, f-stop, depth of field, like all of your true to life, like camera controls, all of that kind of stuff is in here, and works flawlessly. So yeah, you can definitely do all of that kind of fun stuff. Yeah, so all of that's kind of cool in that, you can definitely save views and then super kind of, and then by the way, if you just press F7 and you want to go into like, client mode, it just hides the UI. And then you can just kind of zoom around like if you were I have depth of field on, that's why things kind of look like they get blurred out in the background. So, you can take some game assets. This little thing came from UE, like the front part of this came from UE4. That's a Revit model. That's a UE4 asset. The terrain I built in Maya. Like if you want like cooler assets and stuff like that, you can go ahead and mix and match them, and then make these really great open world scenes, that are just way more true to life, and be able to just like really kind of, and then when the grasshopper person is like updating the grasshopper skin, you can just sit here and watch it update. Good for, again, the PMs who don't really touch the back end apps.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to ask very, very quickly if is there built-in like VR support in here, or is that
not yet?
Not yet.
Right. The tech that we're using is all real time, right? Path tracing, ray tracing, and you can't do that in VR today, right? What you're seeing in VR is not what you see on the screen. So there is plan for it to happen, but we're not there technologically yet. Soon.
But like I said, I can open this USD scene in Unreal
And you can
and
see that
still maintain that connection. And so I can open it in Unreal, press view in VR, and just be in Unreal, because Unreal and Omniverse use the same material set. So, so I can just open this Unreal.
You can also stream from AR from here. Right now, it's only the Android SDK, but you could stream to a tablet, and then you could see this around whatever you wanted that way, right? It streams directly from a single GPU, or you could do multiple GPUs. iOS is being worked on. I don't have a time frame for that yet.
It's okay, Android's better.
I know, but there's iOS people. We support everyone.
I know. Well, you have to say that.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, did you say that USD can be opened in other programs as well? Or if it's not USD, can you extract geometry out of Omniverse and put it back into particularly, I guess, Rhino Revit?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I mean. So I'm kind of playing with that on my own in the background, like just being able to, in Rhino, using some Python, and in Revit using some basic Python, I can open the Omniverse data and move a piece of data or grab some data. So like, let's say there was this Rhino skin. What I'm working on is saying, well, all right, let me just grab the Rhino data from the USD and just populate it in my Revit model. So because it's there and it's accessible. That's a workflow that I'm trying to like kind of work on right now, and it's actually not as hard as I expected it to be, because Revit obviously has Python. You can just use PyRevit. I can connect to the USD libraries that let me open, read, write, and then just basically say open it, traverse the graph, the stage, grab the object I needed, and then do Revit stuff to it. Say like, all right, this is a thing. I'm gonna shove it inside of a family, and then inside of that family, put that in my into my Revit file.
Right.
That's my dream.
So
I'm not there yet.
Quick thing, in 5 minutes, people are going to start getting booted because I'm going to have Matt come in and make the changes because I got to jump for a couple calls before the next session.
Okay.
But if you get disconnected, it's because someone's coming in to just do a change before the next class, and they're just rebooting the machines. So I told them starting at 12:15, so about 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, so if everybody wants to log out, you can still ask me questions. I'm not going to get booted out of my machine. But so yeah, that's the point. So like, think of this as like, you can have the same kind of access that you have like with Speckle. Like you can, it's data living in, on a server that you can read, write, manipulate, push, and pull. So
who's going to win? Speckle, Omniverse, Forge?
I don't see that's what forget about Forge. I talked to the Speckle guys. Like, I don't think it has to be a mutually exclusive thing.
No.
Like, they could easily feed into this system. And if they want to, like tap into the visualization, awesome. If, because there's things that the Speckle guys are doing that are really cool, in bringing some other cloud-enabled tools together, but there's no reason it can't all work together, because really, I mean, it's just about shuffling data. So, you can make a Speckle connection to the USD Omniverse server.
Yeah. What can't it do?
Right now, I don't know. I mean, right now, obviously, a lot of what we're talking about, like, we have to build ourselves,
it's a beta.
But it's a beta. But in terms of a file format, no, the reason I'm so huge behind it is because, like, whatever it was supposed to do, like the billions of dollars that Pixar had, they kind of worked a lot of the kinks out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 10 years old. I mean, it's, like, this is not, beta. The USD is not beta tech. It is like battle hardened, and like multi-million-dollar productions have gone through this workflow numerous times over the last decade. So, like, in terms of like the underpinnings of like what USD can and cannot do, like, that has a pretty battle hardened track record, because these guys are shuffling terabytes of data. They've been doing it for years. So that's why I'm like, I'm a big proponent of it, because there's been a lot of thought and work put behind how it works. More so than a lot of things that are just starting from scratch from the ground up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we're probably all in the same boat that we'd like to see just one
yeah
one thing become adopted widely and be available across the board.
I think so too. Yeah. And I feel like it starts with a really awesome open standard.
Exactly.
And for me, like I was trying to do something like this. I just did not, for years, but just trying to leverage USD and Rhino and Revit. It's just, my C++ skills are pretty much non-existent. So to do some of the back end stuff that you need to do, but once it's here, now you can leverage it through Python, which is much simpler. And I even think there's some C# bindings coming in the works, which is another huge bonus because I think a lot of us are very comfortable in C# because of Rhino and Revit.
Robert, in terms of the collaboration, currently it's kind of focused obviously on production because of the USD format, but when it comes to, say, review collaboration or some sort of a multiplayer platform, similar to Holodeck, I guess, is that something that's in the timeline of Omniverse to have some sort of a review platform that allows for multiple people to have a discussion inside the same geometry?
That's a goal. We're not there yet. Yeah, that's part of the ability to share, stream, right, and access from any device. But that's what I would like to see happen, right? So my vision would be you are immersed in a sense, right, fully in whatever you want to say, VR or on a screen, and you have multi-collaboration happening, and there can be markups and things like that, and those markups can be saved, all that kind of stuff. We're not there yet, but that is part of what we would like to do.
Yeah. And for right now, a lot of the collaboration is on the designer side, right? This is your office working together to put a design together. That's where a lot of the collaboration works currently. Everybody is in their files, and you can be streaming, all of the subs and consultants' Revit files into here, and you can be streaming yours and, facade design. That's where collaboration is right now. But yeah, I mean, I would also love to see this as everybody just put on a headset, just kind of run around an open world. Cool.
Is the beta version going to be free?
Free? I think so. I don't know. Probably. George might have hopped off.
Sorry, I missed. I had a call. And then.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. He just asked how much is it going to cost?
Right now, it's
free.
No idea. That's up to our big guy, the CEO. The plan is to open source as much of it as possible. Right. The big thing is you need a GPU to truly run it. So that's really where it comes from. Right. If you're talking, massive cloud thing, something else, that's a different story. But all that'll be TBD and talked about, when we get closer. We could be in beta for a year. We don't know. I don't have any kind of ETA as when the official 1.0 launch will be. As you guys, if you've read up on this, right, AEC experience is one avenue. We also have Isaac Robotics, which is how we train the robots using this as well. We also have our Drive Sim technology, which leverages this. So at GTC, there's one of the keynotes is actually going around our campus with a Mercedes concept car, and that's actually using Omniverse driving around the whole thing in this path trace mode, how the car is learning, basically, right? So we have all these other pieces. There's Machinima for the game side. M&E will have its own thing for virtual production. It's across the board, right? So the platform is very open in the sense that you can do what you want, and then it's up to you to kind of take it and do these kind of individual pieces to give you an experience, if you will, right? So all those other things are experiences, but as a core, you could do a lot of other stuff. One thing we did probably a year ago was took data from NASA that showed how I forget what it was, some type of lunar lander would actually come into orbit, I think, on Mars, and it was so much data, nothing could actually visualize it. And we were able to take that data, stick it in here, and they were actually able to see the first time how that lander would actually come from space through the atmosphere and land, and it showed everything visually as it was hitting the lunar, basically.
Which is cool, right? Because if we're using this open data and the manufacturing people who make stuff are using it, and the car people make stuff, and then we actually are all now working in the same open universal platform, which I think is cool.
Yeah, and we have people across all industries using it in some form or another right now as early adopters, like Robert and some other firms. So there's car companies doing it. There's people within the media and entertainment. It's across the board. So.
And one cool thing is, you know, this is not official, obviously I don't work for NVIDIA, but NVIDIA is a hardware company, right? So like their thing is have an RTX graphics card, you can use the software. So basically computer anyway. So like, I feel like it's kind of like a win-win.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about it. I just saw the Jeton Nano, and I was like thinking like in the next 5 years, probably you'll be able to like take something like this and launch a cloud-based, completely interoperable experience just with a micro card or something.
Yeah. And then when it comes to digital twin, this is one of the only systems I saw that I can throw everything a building has at it, every nut and bolt, LOD, 350, you know, that's all, you know, and it can consume it without even like blinking. Like it just, you know, it can handle a billion pieces of geometry.
Yeah. What about, is there a way to get real world data in here? I'm thinking like near map or something, some sort of integration that can just
like photogrammetry, various LiDAR things. Yes, there's stuff we're doing to try to get and take that data in here as well, so it can be read.
Yeah,
and the drive sim
or like a
is
repository
cool.
Of the entire Earth. What exists.
That would be cool.
Google Maps. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be
no, and
very
that's
cool.
And that's part of what the drive sim piece is, right? And that's the reason that we built it, is we kind of eat our own food, right? So we have other units that have to do this, and drive sim was one of those. We were hitting a limitation with the software that was being used before. Now we don't, but we're going out and actually creating the world. And to that point, like what Robert said, everybody using it, right? So if there is a city that is being created, it can be taken advantage of in a sense. So right now we're in the process of trying to create a true digital twin of our campus so that we have different business units using it versus these kind of, I've seen various models come up and it's like, well, that was like an early rendition and it looks like somebody took that, did some tweaks. It's not really the accurate one. So it's all kind of that coming together, right? But it's the fact that, you know, have one true digital twin and everybody from the different units could use that, because we did use it to train a robot in our headquarter building. And it was trained virtually many times before it actually was let loose into the building.
Yeah, that's the future.
It is. I think so. All right. I am going to have to probably wrap up. I'm getting the red flag warning.
Yeah, I got to go too. So thank you. And you guys have questions, Robert knows how to get a hold of me. Otherwise, I'm out in the ether somewhere.
Yep. And the Slack channel is going to stay open. So please, I know, Charlie, you have a couple questions. So I can maybe hit them quick. So the streaming method, like how is it streaming the data? That's some secret sauce that I don't know about. It's pretty cool. And I don't know that way, you know, like that's just fast, you know, like API methods for streaming. What method is used to map the assets, element IDs? Yeah, so it is element IDs. So that in Revit, it's element IDs. In Rhino, it's, I think, the UUID. But yeah, it does a surprisingly well job of keeping track of things without losing them. And can you delete a layer from the edit stack? Absolutely. You can hide stuff, you can delete stuff, and those rolling edits will stay. Yeah, absolutely. You have full control over that stack. You can add assets from multiple. You can just keep adding extra layer stack. You can remove the override. So let's say you did a material override, you can remove it, go back to the previous one. So you have lots of control over the stack that way. But yeah, so feel free to keep asking questions in the Rhino, in the Revit, the Slack channel, and I'm happy to answer them as we go. If not, enjoy the rest of your conference.
Okay, thanks a lot, Robert.
All right, awesome, cool. Thanks, guys.